Okay, so we are live. It is. Hey, Miranda, how are you? Good to see you. Um, I'm doing okay. How are you? Hope you're well. Hope everybody's well. It is what's today? Today's the 16th, so we're about halfway through February. It's almost 1 o'clock, 4 minutes before one. We're going to go over the true crime cases of the week, and then we're going to go over missing person case of the week, which is Danielle Bell from News Nation. But I'm doing fine. It's pretty crappy out. I'm going to try to do a little bit of the weather too as we start because there's a lot of places in the country right now that are not doing so well. So let me do my intro and I'll be right back. Hope everybody's doing well. Like I said, let me play my intro and I'll be right back and we'll get this little party started here. Um, Let me hold on a second here. What am I doing? This one here. Let's try this one here. See how this works. Be right back. Okay, so that's done. That is over with. Hey, Southern Gal, how are you? Good to see you. Just getting a little snack, an orange, and a cheese stick. That sounds good. That sounds great, actually. I had some pizza tonight. That was amazing. Uh, I don't eat like a normal person because I work nights. So, but anytime I can have pizza before, say, 7 or 8 o'clock at night, it's always good. Dino is here. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. All right, I'm going to try to do this first really quick. Let me get rid of my face. I hope everybody is well. Mustang 1965 is here. Good to see you, buddy. Um, let's get rid of this here. That's better. Like I said, I hope everybody's well. It's snowing out right now here. But let's hold on a second. I want to hold on a second. Let me see if I can get back to some of the stuff that I was doing here. Or check on. All right, hold on. Let me play this here. Um, give me 2 seconds here.
Things are warranted. So let's go back to the big. Again, if you're just joining us, we're live on the air here at 12 midnight. James Spann, Evan Chikvera.
Okay, so this is a live feed. I wanted to play this for a few seconds. Hey, Heather Brown, how are you? Good to see Heather Brown here. Dr. Steve Leedy from Florida. What a sicko. Yes. I'm gonna check. I think that's the same thing. I'm gonna play a little bit later here. Is that the double murder guy? All right, this is like a live feed here. I've been following these storms that are they kind of cut across Alabama, and now they're kind of moving. I mean, I'm sorry, Mississippi, and now they're kind of moving into uh, western um, Alabama here. So let's play this for a little bit.
And we have a tornado watch for basically most of the state until 4 a.m. Again, we have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for most of Winston, Walker, Tuscaloosa, most of Fayette, southeastern Lamar, the eastern part of Pickens, all of Greene, all of Sumter counties in advance of the line. We have tornado warnings in effect now for parts of Madison here. The Weather Service has extended the tornado warning up in the Tennessee Valley to include now parts of Madison County. It looks that as they have done that here in the last few moments. And this is going to be most likely for the northern part of Madison, north of Huntsville. There's the southern part of the polygon, and you can see eclipse the city of Huntsville, but the greatest concern is going to be here near the Alabama-Tennessee state line. That's US 231. Hazel Green is located right here. And again, we have evidence of rotation near Elkmont. The greatest circulation would be right in through here, and that'll be coming out across extreme northern limestone, extreme northern Madison County. So again, the Weather Service in Huntsville posting tornado warnings in effect. And again, we've still got the southern warning in effect.
Okay, so hold on a second. Justice Jane is here. Hey, Justice Jane, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see some new people in here. Mustang 65's in here. Mino Dino. Heather Brown is awesome. She's in here. Heather Brown is amazing. I just want to go over this really quick because this we get some rain here in Arkansas. Yep. He was a 13-year-old to unalive or so. Oh, I gotta watch that. I gotta check that out. But I just want to go over this here. So let me hold on. What the hell am I doing here? Hold on a second. Let me get rid of this here. I didn't expect to cover this tonight, but I think it's important. So, so this line of thunderstorms here, this is Tuscaloosa here. So this whole line of thunderstorms is weakening a little bit as it moves, I would say northeast, but right up and around the northern part of Alabama here, as this moves east here, especially into Tennessee here, this is going to start really wrecking a lot of havoc here. And I don't want to say that tornado threat's going to get worse because it might get, a little bit less here as it moves northeast here. But regardless, there's going to be a tremendous amount of rain and wind associated with this line of thunderstorms here, which this whole system is affecting a good half of the country right now. It's all the way up here in New England. But this stuff here really means it's business here. But these are going to be hit or miss pockets of, I want to call, tornadic activity here, especially if the more north you go in this line of thunderstorms here. So I would definitely, especially if you're east of this, keep an eye on this here for the next couple of hours or so. So let's hold on a second. I'll get out of this here and we'll back to the other one for a minute. Then we'll start the true crime. Big Fish, Small Pond is here. Hey, buddy, good to see you. Rescue All the Dogs is here. Awesome. All right, so let's go back to this here, and we'll get back to the true crime shit after this here. But this is going to affect a lot of people east of Tennessee here in the next couple of days. So let's play this here for a second.
For a small part of northern Morgan that includes the cities of Decatur, Trinity, and Princeville, or a possible tornadic circulation there. But again, is this high top, Evan, or still looking at Columbus?
Yeah, we switched over to high top.
Okay, so this is the closest radar into that. So again, you should be sheltered in northern Madison County, really north of the city of Huntsville. And we'll see how the circulation plays out. It is faded. I will say the tornadic circulation approaching Trinity and Decatur, it looks a lot weaker now than it did 5-10 minutes ago. So if that trend continues, the Weather Service might let that one go completely. But remember, everybody will see the chance of damaging straight line winds with this line of storms coming through. But the northern circulation is near Elkmont. And I will say there's a secondary. Let's put Wexo 5 on here real quick. I want to show this. This is a different look. We have a possible tornadic circulation that's just southwest of Athens. We have one that's up on the Alabama-Tennessee state line that's near Elkmont approaching Ardmore. Ardmore, Alabama-Tennessee is right here. This is Elkmont.
See, when you see this twist in the atmosphere here, see how this kind of, you kind of have this updraft here, and then it kind of circulates inside a center here, that's usually a good indication that you're getting some sort of a bend here in this echo radar here. So this is not what you want to see, where you have the light green here and the darker greens kind of going in to the center here. But like I said, this is going to be hit or miss shit here for the next couple of days, all the way pushing east here. So we'll just keep an eye on it. But this is, this is not good.
Alabama, circulation number 1, circulation number 2. So again, if you're in these polygons, just stay sheltered. And I know it's inconvenient on a Saturday.
You got cool air here to the east of this, and then warm air behind it. So that's what's causing this echo here. It's kind of all right. So let's get out of here. Just wanted to bring that up. If you're, I don't know, east of Tennessee over the next day or so, you're going to have to keep an eye on that. It's going to be a problem. All right. So I wanted to go to this here because this. Get back into true crime here, but I've been following this all night here. All right, so this happened. I believe this was in Florida. This guy's from, I think he was from New York, and he's basically a suspect in the double unaliving here, and he was caught in Florida. So I'll play the press conference after this, but he's been captured, thankfully, in Volusia County here. And let's back this up and play this here, and.
Breaking news right now on Eyewitness News at 4. Just into our newsroom, major break here. This man, picture behind me, suspected of killing 2 people in New York, has now been captured in Volusia County. Good.
And I'm Darlene Jones. We have been following this story since yesterday. Eyewitness News.
It's pretty awful here. We've gotten. I don't know if anybody was here last week when I played the. I went up to Woodsville, New Hampshire, to go check out the Mara Murray site. A couple of weeks ago, and it was maybe 4 or 5 inches of snow on the ground. Then it's amazing what a difference a week can make, because it's we've gotten like 12 inches of 15 to 20 inches of snow within the last 2 weeks. So if I went up there now, Gibbo all the way is here. Good to see you. The snowbanks would be much higher, and we've gotten probably about a half of what we usually get as far as snowfall for the year in the last couple of weeks here. And it snowed again tonight. We're going to get about 8 inches tonight. And then tomorrow during the day, we're probably going to get about 1 inch or 2 of freezing rain. So it's going to suck. So we're getting it too.
At 4, and it all comes after an intense manhunt throughout the area. Scott Mitchell, who you see here, was arrested in just the last.
Freezing rain here sucks because when the rain falls, it turns to ice as soon as it contacts anything below. So it makes the roads nice and slick and all of that good stuff. It's just not good.
Last few hours, and we have live team coverage for you this afternoon. Channel 9 Volusia County reporter Demi Johnson is live at the sheriff's office, where Mitchell.
It's always good to see newer people here in the chat. I'm Dave. This is my channel here. It's called Owl on the Prowl. We got some really good people in here, really good channels. Southern Gal's probably inviting all these people in here too. So she's great. She's got a great channel. I think I missed her live last night. I was out trying to skate on the roads. We got Miranda Lee in here. Miranda Lee's awesome. Mustang 65's here. Heather Brown is here somewhere. She's up in the chat somewhere. Hopefully she's doing well. Miranda Lee's here. Mino Dino, Big Fish, Small Pond. So got some good people here in the chat. It's always good to see new people. So let me go back to this here.
Was just taken in for questioning. Demi.
Yeah, Darlene, we actually got to ask him a few questions ourselves. I asked him if he was here or why he came to Florida, if he killed those 2 men in New York, and if he was sorry. And I actually also talked to the victim's sister on the phone today, one of those victims from New York, and she told me that she was relieved he was on the loose in Florida because she knew he would be caught. Sheriff Mike Chitwood told us something very similar when we met him here today. Do you know someone in Florida?
Nope.
Did you kill those 2 men in New York?
No comment on anything.
Are you sorry for what you did?
Except waiting this long. Just
like he's going to say yes, right? Like he's going to actually admit to it in front of a camera. Some people are still here. Oh, good. You didn't do one last night. Good for you. You took the weekend off. Good for you. You deserve it. Hope everybody's well. I know there's a lot of shit going around. A lot of people are sick everywhere. It's just amazing what can happen in a couple of weeks. People are dropping like flies around here.
just because so y'all can get some pictures.
Scott Mitchell smiled as Volusia County deputies walked him past our cameras this afternoon. This was just after they found him walking down US 92 toward Daytona Beach.
The message is clear. You're going to kill people. You don't want to come to this state and you don't want to come to this county because we're going to send your right back to where it belongs.
Sheriff Mike Chitwood says Mitchell is accused of killing 2 people in Binghamton, New York. We learned before getting caught he ditched 2 cars, one in Dorchester County in South Carolina and one on the west side of DeLand. He was eventually caught panhandling by an AT&T worker on US 92.
Why was he here? You know, what made him discover this would be a great place to go? But I've been around here long enough to tell you that there is a magnetic pull at exit 268 on 95. Everybody goes into Daytona Beach when they're wanted in other states. As long as I've been here in 19 years, bank robbery, murder, there's just something with that exit on 95 that they're going to get off.
And you may have noticed in our video that Mitchell
I'll have
had
to check that out, Dino. Maybe I'll do some behind the scenes stuff on that. Dr. Stephen Leedy out of Florida. Okay, I'll check that out. I haven't seen Necessarily Evil around in a while. There's a lot of sickos in Florida. Yeah, absolutely. This guy's from New York, though. He kind of went down to Florida to try to get away, but they got him.
shaved beard and a shaved head. That's different than the description photo we originally had. The sheriff says he did that somewhere along the way between South Carolina and Florida when he ended up here. Again, I did.
Well, I do want to try something. Hold on a second. I want to hold on a second. I want to check something out here. Hold on a second. I just did some new stuff here. Hope it works. Let's try this here. Okay, so this, I've been working on this tonight too. Let's try this out. Hold on. Oh, it's not going to work. Oh, no, it's not going to work. Damn it. Why is it not going to work? Anyways, I'll have to fix that again. All right, sorry. Let me go back to this here. Hold on a second.
Talk to one of the victim's sisters who lives in New York. I'll have more from her coming up at 5. Live in Volusia County, Demi Johnson, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, Demi, we will see you then. Our breaking coverage continues with Channel 9's Nick Pampatonis. He is also live in Daytona Beach at the location where Mitchell was captured. Nick, how did this all go down?
So you heard Demi talk about the fact that they say he was panhandling. That is 92 International Speedway Boulevard right behind us.
I've been on this road before. I knew that looked familiar. So this is Volusia County. This is right. I don't know if this is close to Daytona Beach or not, but this is the route here. But I've been on this stretch before for sure. I've been lost on this road before many times.
Where those cars are, where the gentleman is there walking. What, according to the sheriff and deputies, what went down is he was actually spotted here for the first time yesterday, panhandling on that road. And
who knows what I'm trying to do? I have no idea. One of those moods tonight. I got some like little kind of funny stuff, but it's not working because the file's too big. So I gotta shave the file. So I'll let you guys know when it works.
AT&T worker approached him, but they said he didn't recognize him right away. It was only afterwards, when the social media posts went out, when the news reports started coming out, that the guy recognized him, recognized the tattoos that he had on his body. And then the AT&T worker, they said, came back today, saw him panhandling again today, and that's when he called 911. The sheriff said that he was arrested without incident. We did see a bunch of crime scene tape around here as they did their investigation.
You could literally push these trees over. It's strange to see trees like this down here in Florida because There's not a lot of land here.
But around these woods where we're standing right now, but that is not where the scene was. They said it was a low key sort of affair. You saw him smiling in that picture there. The other thing that we do want to note is we understand right now that deputies or police officers from Binghamton, New York, where this all happened, are on their way down here right now to interview him. The sheriff's office is holding him right now. They're not asking questions. They're letting the authorities from New York take it once they get here. Live in Daytona Beach, Nick Papantonis, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, let's play this one here.
West 2 News starts with breaking news.
And that breaking news is out of Volusia County, where deputies just caught the man wanted in a double murder. Good afternoon, I'm Stuart Moore.
And I'm Summer Knowles. Thanks for joining us. The news comes after the sheriff's office teamed up with police in New York to put up $10,000 for the arrest of Scott Mitchell.
West 2 has team coverage on this story. Spencer Tracy's in Daytona Beach, where Mitchell was found. But we want to start things off with Pamela Cohen.
That's too funny. I've been to that part of Florida many times. Those trees there. I mean, if you get up around Jacksonville and you start traveling west up there, you can find some really good trees. But those trees, these trees here, are not all that. They're not on very solid footing here.
Home with the latest on the arrest. Pamela.
Well, the community has been on high alert for the last 24 hours. The Volusia County Sheriff's Office says they investigated several tips, but the latest one was at 2 p.m. It came out of Daytona Beach, and it's how deputies
Didn't they get like a little bit of snow here, like in the last week or so? They got a little bit of snow down in Florida. Now everybody's back to short sleeves. It's just so wonderful in Florida.
able to catch Scott Mitchell. Scott Mitchell, why did you decide to come to Florida? DeLand, Daytona Beach? Do you know anyone here? The 50-year-old was walked into the Volusia County Operations Center. He recently shaved his head and beard. He didn't say much as he was escorted in, except that he doesn't know anyone in Volusia County, and he said he would not comment on the 2 murders he was arrested for. Mitchell was last spotted in the DeLand area on foot after deputies found the car he was in, so it's unclear how he made his way all the way to Daytona Beach because they do believe he was on foot. Today, the sheriff thanks everyone who called in to report Scott Mitchell's sightings.
And as it turns out, thank God we had an alert AT&T gentleman who was in the area, thought he saw him there yesterday. Today, he went over to talk to the panhandlers and was able to 100% say, this is the guy the cops are looking for. Made that call.
The sheriff says police detectives from the New York State are on their way down to Florida to question Mitchell. The sheriff says he will soon be taken to the Volusia County Branch Jail, where they will then begin the process to extradite.
Okay, so this guy here, hold on a second. I thought they were going to go over this, but apparently not. So a man wanted in connection with Binghamton double homicide has been taken into custody in Florida. According to the Volusia Sheriff's Office in Florida, 50-year-old Scott C. Mitchell of Binghamton was taken into custody in Daytona Beach 1 week after 2 men were found dead in Binghamton. The arrest happened hours after the Binghamton Police Department and the Volusia Sheriff's Office posted a $10,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. So Mitchell was being pursued for questioning the murders of Binghamton residents Daniel McClough, 58, and Marshall Van Oven, 55. Let me share this here, and then we'll go back to that. What's this here, Debbie? Let me hold on a second. This is the article anyway. I'm reading the article for this because I thought they were going to do that, but apparently not. Okay, so how did authorities track down the murder suspect? According to Dorchester County Sheriff's Department in South Carolina, a car connected to Mitchell was seen in the area on February 8th, so last week. On Tuesday, the Volusia Sheriff's Office reported Miss Mitchell was seen in Florida. Why do they always go to Florida? That's so weird. Possibly in the West DeLand area. Authorities also recovered a stolen car they believe Mitchell had been driving. So not only are you going to kill people, you're going to steal cars to more pressure on the police to catch you. Some criminals are just dumb. In a Wednesday press conference streamed live and shared publicly on Fox, Orlando on YouTube, Volusia Sheriff. I'm going to play that in a second. Said Mitchell was panhandling. You got to stop it. When he was identified by an AT&T utility worker who called the sheriff's office. Like, you just can't make this stuff up. And there's a $10,000 reward for this guy. Chitwood said media coverage as well as photos from the sheriff's office had posted related to Mitchell's appearance and distinctive tattoos helped the search panhandling. Oh my, you can't do this. This is wow. Okay. Let me get back to that here. Some people are just dumb. This guy's one of them. Apparently he wanted to be caught.
Him up north. Covering Volusia County live in Daytona Beach. Pamela Combe, West 2 News.
Team coverage continues with West 2 Spencer Tracy live force in Daytona Beach where Mitchell was found. Spencer.
Where are you? Heather, I think I know where you are, but where are you? Good insurance. I hope you're well. Doctor charge producing child abuse materials and enticing. I think I've seen that one too. There's a lot of really weird things going on right now in the news.
Sir.
That's right. So this is the exact area where officials are saying that they found his backpack. And this is kind of where we have video of caution tape kind of covering this whole entire area.
In other case, you might as well just, make up a sign and hold the sign saying, "I'm the guy you're looking for. Come get me." I mean, it's
And I did actually, where we are, we're on West International Speedway Boulevard.
Hey, Jason.
Now, here's a video on your screen showing Volusia County Sheriff's Office kind of in this area, having the whole area blocked off. Now, the big thing we know is that the Volusia County Sheriff's Office put this tip out today. They were teaming up with Binghamton Police Department to offer that $10,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of Scott Mitchell, who, of course, was wanted for 2 counts of second-degree murder. And we know that the call came in at 2 p.m., and that's where the sheriff's office says there was a tipster that worked for AT&T. That was the person that called in the tip. Now, back here out on scene, we have talked to some McDonald's workers that say they'd seen Mitchell yesterday. They weren't exactly sure if it was him or not, and we know that the tipster was able to point him out because of tattoos. I actually did speak to a homeless man who was outside McDonald's as well, and he tells me for the past 2 days he was with Mitchell. He said he did not know this man was wanted for murder. He said the past 2 days they've been going up and down the street panhandling, and he said Mitchell told him that he wanted food, so that's why they ended up here at this McDonald's. And we do also know.
Oh my God, it's like right out in front of a McDonald's too. Like, how obvious can you get?
Office says that Mitchell did not resist arrest. Of course, we're still trying to hear from witnesses. Of course, once we get information, we'll bring it to you on air and online. But for now, I'm covering Volusia County live in Daytona Beach. Spencer Tracy, West 2 News.
All right, so let me get out of this here. I'll play the press conference for a little bit, then we'll go to something else. Hold on a second. Just wanted to bring this up. This was, here's your sign. Everybody needs a sign. I'm telling you, man, some people, the guy's wanted for MURDER, right? You would think he'd be a little bit less conspicuous. Stealing a car, panhandling, what the fuck?
So really the message is clear. You're going to kill people. You don't want to come to this state, and you don't want to come to this county.
So this is the press conference. This was done a few days ago after they got him. Obviously, they're going to ship him back to New York, and New York's going to ship them a couple of people too, because there's a couple of people in New York that they got caught for unrelated crimes. So it's crazy.
Because we're going to send your ass right back to where it belongs. So we were alerted by Binghamton, New York authorities on Monday that a suspect, Scott Mitchell, in double murder, was believed to be in a stolen vehicle and was.
If you commit a double homicide, you might want to lay low for a few weeks. You might want to just probably not have a lot of contact with people. Just
headed toward Florida. we were able, using technology, to recover that vehicle unoccupied in the west part of our county. We automatically knew he's either somebody picked him up or out on foot. We were able to recontact Binghamton authorities. This morning, we put out a $10,000 reward for his capture. We used all the photos that we had of him. We got good photos of his tattoos, and we put that out. And a little later on this afternoon, an AT&T worker in the area, 17 and 92, saw a guy out there panhandling.
God, I'm telling you, some people, it's just
handling. Was able to talk to him and another guy and realize, hey, this is the guy they're looking for, and called us. I just happened to have a lieutenant and a detective in the area, and they took him into custody. Binghamton detectives are on their way down here now. They should be down here early evening. They'll be landed at Daytona Beach International Airport, and then they'll work on taking this scumbag back to New York where he belongs, where he has to face the music.
Why did he come to Florida?
I don't know. He's not saying too much to us. You know, I know that Binghamton has been all over it. They knew that he was in South Carolina, and they knew he stole that vehicle, and they knew by a tag reader that he was on 95 coming down into this area. So they alerted everybody, and we got a call about a suspicious vehicle.
Look, I don't know how many times I got to say this. When you're in Florida, you can't do anything without being caught on camera. Okay, so I mean, they literally have every toll booth everywhere you go, especially on the eastern side, because that's where all the people are, right? You can't do anything without being on camera. So this guy's just stealing a car in Carolina, right? Driving out, like they're gonna catch you. Okay. Oh.
Vehicle turned out we have fingerprints from that vehicle that matched him. We had a lot of tips come in last night. People with doorbell ring camera footage saying, "Hey, this guy looks suspicious." There were people who were in Huntoon State Park who saw a guy with a backpack and camouflage. And yesterday was not a day to be wearing camouflage and looking like you were dressed for winter. They sent photos in, and as it turns out, you know, thank God we had an alert AT&T gentleman who was in the area, thought he saw him there yesterday. He went over to talk to the panhandlers and was able to 100% say, this is the guy the cops are looking for. Made that call, took him into custody without incident, and now he has to face the music in New York.
How many hours between when you put out the reward and when you got the call?
Oh, God, we put out the reward probably around 9 o'clock this morning, and you figure we got the call at 2, about it, 4 hours. But, you know, last night, and I want to thank West too, some of you guys did a story on it and put his photo out there. So it already had been percolating, because after you guys had done your story, I got at least one direct email from around 7:20 a.m. on Tuesday morning, right around where the car was recovered. A woman had sent her Ring doorbell cameras because she saw a strange person at her door. It turned out not to be him, but it was the fact that once the media put it out there, people in the area started checking, assuming it's a rural area, that he's probably going to be in there. I kind of had the feeling he has relatives in Lake County to park that car there. That's kind of not some place you're just going to find on your own. You had to have somebody direct you in there to do that. So there's a lot of questions. His head is shaved, as you saw. He's bald. Who cut his hair? You know, why was he here? You know, what made him discover this would be a great place to go? But I've been around here long enough to tell you that there is a magnetic at exit 268 on 95. Everybody goes into Daytona Beach when they're one in other states. As long as I've been here in 19 years.
Yeah, no kidding. They all go. It's so weird. It's like it's got to be like a destination where they feel like they can get away with it. I don't know. It's so weird. People just flock there. If they commit a crime in the upper east quadrant of the United States, they're probably going to head down to Florida. It's just it's so weird, because it's not like you're going to go anywhere. There's cameras everywhere.
Bank robbery, murder. There's just something with that exit on 95 that they're going to get off. So.
Did he have any weapons?
No. And we don't have too many details. You know, Binghamton's been playing it pretty close to the vest. All we know is there's, 2 males who were murdered, strangulation, and they were roommates. We really know they're not giving us a lot of information to go on, and we really don't need it. Our job is to hold them until they get here and do what they need to do.
Do you know how he made his way from the land?
We don't. He's not telling us anything. Hopefully he'll lay that out to Binghamton. We're not going to question him. We're not going to touch him. We have warrants for him for the stolen car. We're not going to do anything that would
At that point, it's probably better to go north, right? If you're going to get if you want to sewer drains there. That's so funny. At that point, you're better off going north, though. I mean, at least you're going to go to another country. It's Canada. The mileage, you save some mileage on your car. I don't know. It's just so weird how they just all go to Florida.
Up what New York wants to do, because what I'm learning, and I'll editorialize this, that state's kind of messed up. Some of the things that they have to do to extradite somebody, some of the things that they have to do before they question somebody, it's not like Florida.
When you say it, they have to do a lot, you mentioned that they're already on their way here.
They're already on their way. There's a temporary arrest warrant that they can't get a full. It's just a lot of stuff that's like not like how we operate here in Florida.
So he's not going to be like on his way out by tomorrow.
I don't expect he'll be out here by tomorrow. He'll be sitting in the jail to go through the extradition process, which is the same all over. They have to get the warrant, and the state attorneys have to talk about it. He's got to waive his rights, and then he'll go back to New York. But as far as questions,
so he's pretty much screwed. But they got him. That was big news a few days ago. But the good news is that they caught him, and he's heading back to face some charges. Yeah, Alaska also seems like everyone that makes it up there is running. Yeah, absolutely. But you're still in the, especially, technically you're still in the United States, right? It's, I'm telling you, Florida, that part of Florida, you can't do anything without being on camera. It's just not going to happen. So if they're going to find you, they're going to find you there. All right, I want to play this here too. Let's play this really quick. Hold on a second here. I do want to go into this too. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I'm going to play this. Well, yeah, let's do this here first because this has been going on. Hold on a second. I don't know if anybody's been keeping up with this year, but apparently somebody did some DNA technology on a. Hold on a second. I want to play this one first because. This was Jack the Ripper. Who done it? Okay, so here we go. Let's play this one first. So, okay, so apparently, they've explored this infamous case of Jack the Ripper, a serial killer in London in late 18. Everybody knows about Jack the Ripper. I don't have to pretty much explain that one, but one historian claims that he discovered the Ripper's real identity through DNA testing. So there was this shawl on one of the victims that they had in custody, had in evidence for hundreds of years, literally. And they've tested it for some sort of DNA, and it basically came up with a suspect here, some barber from European Poland. So they've been trying to figure out who this has been for over 100 years or so, but they finally got some sort of a hit on who this was. But there's a lot of people that kind of don't believe this shit that's going on here. So let's play a little bit of this, and then I'll play some of the backlash on it from. I know that Pat Brown did a thing on it a couple of days ago saying it's not this guy. So we'll play this first. Whoops.
Apologies again to my viewers for flipping off my co-host and his guest. But hey, listen, I have a special for you tonight, something very, very special, because you think you know Jack. Turns out we don't know Jack. We've never known Jack. We've never known Jack the Ripper. And tonight,
So this guy here, Whitechapel murders, terrorized 1880s London. Unsuspecting women met unspeakable unalivings. Quick alert here that they're going to show some fairly graphic pictures. So if you're, a little bit not into that stuff, I would turn away for a little bit. But so here's this.
Full hour on all of the issues that are bubbling to the surface this week with this DNA declaration that we may have actually genealogically linked DNA from a crime scene of Jack the Ripper's to an actual guy. Look, I love science and I love forensics, but there are plenty of critics too. There's so much that thought I knew about Jack the Ripper, about his victims, about what happened to those victims. We've had sweeping descriptions, but no deep descriptions. Tonight, fair warning, big warning. A lot of really ugly graphic details are coming. Not only am I going to talk to you about why Jack the Ripper gripped us for 135 years, but also what he did to those women. What was being said back then about the women, about the killer, and how that community was seized in fear. The headlines are just delicious. I mean, you really do want to go through these 1888 headlines with me. That's coming in just a moment as well. I'm going to take you on a tour of the actual cobblestone streets where each of these murders happened. So this is a special edition of Banfield tonight. Let me just get into it, because there is this issue of what if we're wrong? And if we're wrong and it hasn't been solved, that name is still out there. I'm going to go over the other possible suspects too. But if you mention the crime of the century, you might think OJ. But the 19th century, that belongs to Jack the Ripper. If you think about it, of all the serial killers that live in our nightmares, Dahmer, Zodiac, Son of Sam, H.H. Holmes, the Iceman, not one of them endured like Jack the Ripper. It's mostly because the Ripper's crimes were never solved. The Ripper himself was never found. But all that tonight might change.
Yeah, she did. Pat Brown did a thing on this here, and she doesn't feel like this is accurate here, and who knows? But they just want it to be. I think most people associated with this whole thing want it to be independently tested. They don't trust, but you'll see here, anyways.
This week, there was earth-shattering news in the true crime community. Jack the Ripper has been unmasked. A real name has been put to the nickname. And this time, it's not just conjecture and theory, it's science, forensic science, genealogy, and cold, hard evidence. It was a blood-stained shawl found at one of the Ripper's ghastly murders, also contained male DNA, semen, presumably from the murderer. That shawl was purchased by a historian who put it through the forensic paces using genealogy. That male DNA traced forward 135 years to the niece of a man.
I mean, I will say this about this is it's the first time anybody's tried to do, I think it's the first time anybody's tried to do any type of DNA analysis on anything from any of the evidence from the crime scenes. So, but who knows?
Named Aaron Kosminski. This is a rendition. This is a mock-up of what he might have looked like. Kosminski was a 23-year-old Polish immigrant who plied his trade by day as a barber. So we know that he was quick with a blade. And as it happened, Kosminski was known to the police back then. He was even a suspect, though police could never prove he did it. But if the shawl, the blood, the DNA, and Kosminski prove to be the defining moment of this ice-cold crime, have we indeed solved the greatest true crime mystery of all time? The historian behind the revelation has spent years piecing together this puzzle, even touring devotees through the deserted streets of London's East End to walk in the footsteps of history's most vexing killer.
Jocelyn's here. Hey, Jocelyn, how are you? Good to see you. Jocelyn's in the house. You're not late. No such thing as late here. I'm the one that's late. I don't come on. I don't come on till 1 o'clock in the morning. But it's good to see you, Jocelyn. I hope you're well. Just going over some of this stuff about Jack the Ripper here. I'm going to play a little of this, and then I'm going to go to some of the pushback on if whether or not this is actual or not.
Okay. On Saturday, the 8th of September, 1888, the second murder.
With this stuff here, you never know if people are just trying to make a buck, right? Like
The victim fell at the hands the world knows as Jack the Ripper. He cut her throat, right down to the spine.
It's JCN. JCN's here. Hey, JCN, good to see you. Another great channel here. Jocelyn's got a great channel, and JCN's a fantastic channel. Fantastic work. Awesome stuff.
There's reports somewhere saying they actually tried to cut a head off and they didn't have the time. This doorway here, on the latch, it was never locked. So this is where the unfortunates would bring their customers into the backyard, service them, and off they went. And the number of times I've stood here over the years and wondered, because this was the only one on the latch, whether there were hunters, if you like, and unfortunates standing, waiting their turn. Now, the thing is, you've got to realize that
Isn't this weird, right? This is exactly where that image is from back in the 1880s. So I believe that was the Victorian era, right? That was Victoria's reign, 1880, somewhere around there.
Truman Brewery, so you've got the smell of the brewery.
I think that's Queen Victoria. Not sure.
You've got the slaughterhouses and the leatherworks. Plus these streets where you're inside, by the homeless, downtrodden, the destitute.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you for putting that in there. She's awesome. She's right on top of everything with the channels and stuff like that. Thank you.
Streets of Whitechapel. The research that I've done over the years, I've stood here, not every year, but I've stood here to wonder what it would have been like. Would it have been this dark? Would it have been this light? Especially going daylight. And people are walking to Spitalfields Market to just, and yet this murderer just vanished into thin air.
Vanished into thin air. The understatement of the century. Russell Edwards is that tour guide, that historian, and is that true crime sleuth who may have cracked a case for the ages, and he's live with me now. Mr. Edwards, thank you so much for being back with me. I so appreciate seeing you again. How certain are you? How certain are you that the Ripper is Aaron Kosminski?
Oh, without doubt, 100% it's him. You got to remember that the name of the Ripper was given to me by Scotland Yard.
So apparently this guy here was a suspect at one point.
You mentioned about this face. This face is a facial reconstruction by an expert from the family photos that were given to me by one of the family members, by one of the descendants. So it's not sort of like a mock-up, but that's actually what it looked like.
Let's talk about where this case actually stands. I mean, you've done this, I assumed, presented this, but legally, where are we? We can't have a court case. The perpetrator is dead. He can't be tried. But what about an inquest? Where might this go?
Yeah. Okay. So we've tried with the Attorney General twice. The first time, a few years ago now, it was very obvious that they didn't even look at the letter or the case that we presented. And in fact, I put that in the book as a rebuff. They just weren't interested. The second letter came back, or the response, and let me just say it took them 6 months to respond. We did press them very hard for a response. And really the 4 questions asked of an inquest, it's who, where, how, and when. It's the how that we can look at here, how the deceased came about their death. And with that, we can actually add now with the new evidence that we've got.
I mean, this woman here that they're talking about, where this piece of evidence, I think, came from, I mean, she was really unalived. All of these victims were basically, they were thinking at one time that the guy might have been a doctor.
How it was actually Catherine Eddowes, the 4th Ripper victim, how she came by her death. And with what the evidence that we have, we can actually place Aaron Kosminski at the murder scene.
So, I mean, it's fascinating, this shawl, that it still exists 135 years later. Where is the shawl right now? Have police asked you for it?
Oh, no. Do you know the most interesting thing about this shawl is it was in the police filing cabinet for over a decade, and they actually did nothing with it down in the Crime Museum. And it was the owner, who's the great-great-grandnephew of Acting Sergeant Amos Simpson, that was actually on what's called finning duties on the night in one of the houses at Mitre Square. And he was one of the first on the scene before PC Watkins, who officially found Catherine.
That thing looks old, though, doesn't it? It looks like really old.
Houses at Mitre Square. And
like this thing here looks, I don't know, just by an eye test, looks like something that hasn't been around for a long time. This whole patterned thing here. I don't know. It looks old.
He was one of the first on the scene before PC Watkins, who officially found Catherine. And he asked if he could take the shawl away with him. As his wife was a seamstress, and again, it's a very beautiful piece of material. In fact, it's about, I would say, nearly 9 foot in length and about 2.5 foot in width, as you can see there. And he took it home for his
It's an
wife.
important
Of course,
artifact.
she wasn't
Where is
actually
it?
very. Well, that's in a bank vault, in an undisclosed location, is all I can tell you.
In a bank vault. So the police had it, didn't test it. Now there are all these headlines. You have tested it. Do you think that someone is going to want you to turn the shawl over for some independent testing?
Not likely. They've never knocked on the door.
I mean, the thing is this weren't most of these women SWs or something like that? So it could be DNA from anybody. I mean, like, but this is. I just thought this was kind of interesting because it's been all over the news the last couple of weeks.
And when we originally did this, they certainly weren't interested. It's curious that they
Russell
sort
Edwards,
of just not bothered.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Because my next question really covers that. Why has this case gripped the globe? It is not an American fascination. It's not a British fascination. It is a global fascination. There have been murderers far worse, I dare say, than Jack the Ripper. I named some of them off the top of the show. Their names are not common parlance like Jack the Ripper. Why is it? What is it about him and his crimes that just we can't let go?
It's the eternal whodunit, and in fact, you've said it. It's the name, Jack the Ripper. About 70 years before these murders, there was another set of notorious murders on the road from these, and yet no one would ever have heard of them, which is the Ratcliffe Highway murders. It's the name that carries this. It's the romance of the Victorian era. And of course, with this one, it's the whodunit.
I agree. I think it's part of the lore. It's part of the whole, since it's not been solved since the questions about all of that stuff. I think it kind of all right. So I do want to play this one here. Hold on a second. So this is the pushback on this. Let me play this. Hey, Paula Fitzhenry, how are you? Good to see you. Paula Fitzhenry's here. It's possible. Definitely possible that he traveled to the U.S. I mean, anything's possible. There's a really good show I've seen of Jack the Ripper. It was like Jack the Ripper, and then in like New York or something. I'll have to find it. Yeah, I mean, this case has been kind of. That's all right. It's good to have you here, Paula. Always good to see you. Let me play this here. But this is the pushback from this DNA expert here that kind of doesn't want to believe any of this stuff here. So. This could be somebody just trying to make a buck.
Possibility that some people would have answers, even generations later, even just interested parties, people who enjoy the true crime genre, would have some idea of who actually committed these crimes. It's an exciting thing, right? The thought of, and when I read the news reports, I thought it's 100% match. I mean, my sort of red flags went off, but I thought, wow, this is really amazing. I wanted to also get granular and figure out just what they had found, what kind of DNA had they used, what did they find, where did they find it, what was the connection. And so, after your call earlier, I decided to really take a look at this and see what was specifically was going on in the case.
Okay, so give me your summary. What'd you find out? And then did you change how you felt about this miraculous news?
Yeah, I mean, not to blow the punchline, but yes. So the DNA used here is what's called mitochondrial DNA. It's a much smaller strand than the regular nuclear DNA we use to identify people. And as such, just right off the bat, it doesn't have the kind of power to identify someone individually that nuclear DNA has, or cellular DNA. This is DNA from a small organelle that's inside the cell, and the DNA strand is much, much smaller. We have the second problem of the fact that this DNA is degraded over years, right? DNA degrades in the environment when it interacts with oxygen, sunlight, heat. And so the strands of DNA that were measured in this particular case never been measured before in this manner. So they were very small strands, about 100 base pairs, compared to millions and millions and millions of base pairs normally. And so hundreds of base pairs long. And having not ever been compared before, there's no real statistical analysis on how rare they are, how much they occur in everyone's mind.
It's Cryptex. Good to see you, Cryptex. Always good to see you. Cryptex has an awesome channel too. John Paul Hanson's in here as well. I was just on your site actually a little while ago, John Paul, listening to some of the music. Awesome stuff. But both these guys, Cryptex and John Paul, awesome channels. I usually try to get over to Cryptex as much as I possibly can because he usually has Farmer on there. But both channels are awesome. Good to see you guys for sure. Just going over this Jack the Ripper shit.
Mitochondrial DNA, or everyone in that area in England and London, and so finding a few matches on a few of these sites, and in fact, in this particular case, 7 out of 9 sites, gives you some information, but it's not nearly enough information to say with any kind of certainty that.
Feel free to throw your channels in here if you want. Cryptex, the Southern Girls are all on it. Obviously, Southern Girl is amazing. I don't know what I'd do without her. Yeah, Farmer's great too. Farmer was in here. Farmer was in here a couple of weeks ago. I hope he's well. I'm a musician too, so I like good music. But Farmer was in here a couple of weeks ago. Farmer's an awesome person, just a great person. So, and I know he's usually on your channel. So, I try to get over there as much as I possibly can. But Timmy's Legacy's here. Hi, Barb. Good to see you. This is they kind of did some sort of a DNA testing on a shawl a couple of weeks ago that was found by one of the unaliving victims of Jack the Ripper, and they did some apparently from this guy some mitochondrial DNA testing. But so I played the Banfield interview with the guy that's doing the investigation over in England. And then this guy here is an expert here from the United States who's basically trying to say that it's all bullshit.
This is the man that is Jack the Ripper. I mean, it is a mile from saying anything like that.
And the degradation, 135 years, obviously this wasn't kept in an ice chest. It wasn't kept in serene conditions. It was thrown in the police lockup. Eventually was.
It's always good to see Miss Barb in here. I'm not going to run the ticker tonight because it always screws up the chat. But Miss Barb's awesome. She's in here. She's a great person. Great channel too.
Out to auction and in history houses.
So this is a shawl that they found. Who even knows if this is accurate? This is actually the shawl. I mean, this thing's just 1880, right? It's a long, long freaking time ago.
So chain of custody, for one, I could see a good defense lawyer winning it on that alone. But the degradation I'm concerned about. However, in the Brian Koberger case, you've got a tiny, tiny little specimen of DNA that was sent down to Othram Labs in Texas. They were able to, I don't know the science, but develop it out into a sample that was, robust enough for genealogical tracing. And I wonder if the same thing could happen here, or are we at a level with mitochondrial DNA that doesn't really pass that sniff test?
Yeah, this is apples to oranges. Nuclear DNA, you can develop a full nuclear profile, full DNA profile, or an identification profile today from a single cell. A single cell's worth of DNA. I mean, the kits that are used in labs today are unbelievably precise and unbelievably sensitive as to being able to extrapolate a full DNA profile from 1 or 2 or 3, just a handful of cells. Mitochondrial DNA is a completely different matter because not only is it a much smaller DNA molecule, which is why it's still here, right? Which is why it's not quite as degraded. The pieces of it are still able to be measured at the small level. But unfortunately, mitochondrial DNA is shared by everyone in the matrilineal line. So every mother to daughter to daughter, daughter, all the sisters, all of their daughters, and all the sisters at every generation and their daughters at every generation. And so there are a tremendous number of people. And in fact, the statistical use, the frequency used to say that this particular man matched, quote unquote, matched or was concordant with 7 of 9 locations they tested, still only turned out to be about 2% of the population of people in London at the time. So 2% of the population of the people in London would not have been excluded as a possible contributor to these possible small fragments of possible mitochondrial DNA left on an item that you indicated a moment ago, traded hands over and over again between owners, between different custodians in different places in museums and personal homes and collections and down through family members. And so there's another assertion inside this analysis that says, well, we found new DNA or DNA that was complete that we can decide was the last owner's DNA, and then we found some old DNA that was degraded and incomplete, and that must be the historical DNA. But what about all the other people that touched this item in the 137 years between the date of the murder and the date it was tested? The information just isn't there in the science to be able to show exactly when the DNA.
30 Diana, good to see you. Good to see everybody in the chat. Just going over this. Apparently, this guy thinks it's all a bunch of bullshit. Stuff on the Jack the Ripper case. They did some DNA testing on this shawl here, and they came back to a suspect. But who knows?
It was deposited and by whom?
So I only have time for a one-word answer, but I think I know what it is. This would or would not stand up in court.
It would not.
I had a feeling that's what you're going to say. Jared Ambo, I'm so appreciative of your wisdom. Man, you are a smart cookie. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Go to join.
Right, so that's the end of that. I just wanted to go over. I usually don't cover stuff like this, but it's been in the news for a while, a couple of weeks at least. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think they want to get it independently tested to confirm that. Oh, you were on Tom Webster the other day? See, I've missed everything. I wish I would have seen that. I guess I could always go do the replay on that. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow night. That would have been awesome. All right, so we're going to do this missing person case of the week. This is the story of Danielle Bell. I've been covering this case, too, for a while. This is just such an awful, terrible... I mean, this whole case, this poor kid, it just, slipping through the cracks, all of this stuff, this whole... this is one of those cases that really bothers me to no end. But let me... there's really not a lot of write-up on this case either, but I'm going to play this here. So this is you're going to be hearing from this victim's sister here. I think she's the only one left alive. I could be wrong, but there's not a lot on her. Danielle Bell. She's been missing since September 30th, 2001, Cantonment, Florida. She would be, I don't know, I think 37 years old today. I'll show you some progression pictures here in a second. Danielle's photo is shown age progression to 18 years. Danielle was last seen on September 30th, 2001, has not been seen since or heard from since. She has a scar on her right forearm, and her nickname is Danny. And that's it. I'll try to find some more stuff. But I know the sister's a big advocate for her. So let's play this here. This is just a sad case because all right, here we go.
I'm Marnie Hughes, and this is Missing. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Each week, we feature a missing persons case from across the country, no matter their race, religion, background, background or circumstances. Every missing person matters, and with your help, our goal is to shine a light on cases that are not getting much attention, dig for answers, and offer support for the family and friends of the missing. This week's featured case, a teenager in high school, popular, a cheerleader, vanishes. Danielle Bell, her whole life in front of her. Danielle's best friend, Jennifer, says they were inseparable until she met a man much older.
Honestly, at 13 even, I didn't want to be around. I could tell, like, he was just off. He was older than us. He just kind of gave me, like, the heebie-jeebies.
Coming up, Alfredo Sanchez, the man Dan.
What is that? Who is this link for? Is that for this case here? YouTube Watch TV. Should know better if you get it from a Mexican. That's funny. Oh.
Danielle was seen, and the secret that she had shared with some of those close to her before she disappeared. Also, Danielle's sister will be joining us to talk about the case. Before we get to that, we've got several other missing cases we want to share with you. First, Bill Wolf thought someone was chasing him. His wife, Cynthia, called 911, and Bill took off. That was in July of 2024. Bill is 65 years old. He's from Chesapeake, Virginia. Shortly after he vanished, some of Bill's personal items were found in an unmanned catamaran about 3 nautical.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll probably listen to that tomorrow night. I wonder why I didn't get a notification for that, or maybe I did. Charles is here. Is that the Charles I think I know? Is that evil? Necessarily evil? Yeah, no shit. I'd be kicking down the doors in jail. Yep. Yeah, I'll have to watch that. I can't believe I missed that. I usually watch all of most of Tom Webster's stuff for sure.
Miles north of Little Creek Harbor in Norfolk, Virginia. Bill's wife, Cynthia, and the couple's son say the worst part is the not knowing. Bill drives a 2008 Ford F-150 pickup. It is silver, license plate IBD WOLF. In addition to the Coast Guard, anyone with information should contact the Chesapeake Police Department at 757-382-6161. The disappearance of Sophia Franklin sparking an Amber Alert in Wisconsin. The pregnant 16-year-old is from Beaver Dam. Police believe she is with 40-year-old Gary Day. He's also the father of her unborn child. And now we've learned the vehicle the two may be traveling in is using multiple license plates. It's a 2014 black Buick LaCrosse, last seen with a Pennsylvania license plate, KGW 5186. Call 911 if you see that car, Sophia or Gary Day. Now to our featured case, Danielle Bell, a teenager with her whole life ahead of her. Last seen at a party at the house of an older man. She was...
Okay, so I got it here. Boy, that took a long time to find. I always keep putting out new music, just checking whatever you decide. Yeah, I was watching your stuff from Spotify earlier. Let's see here. The hell am I doing? All right, hold on a second. Let me stop this for a second. We'll get you shared this one on Facebook. So this is coming from the Charlie Project. This is probably the best place to get any information from any of these cases. So missing from Pensacola, Florida, which is basically the same thing we just read. Endangered missing. So they haven't, she's still considered to be endangered and missing. Female, obviously white, date of birth, 1987. She was 14 years old when she went missing, 5'4", 110, 120 pounds. This is the stuff that she was wearing, a sky blue halter. She's probably not wearing this anymore. This thing, Caucasian female, light brown hair, blue eyes. Danielle has a scar on her right forearm. Her ears are pierced and the navel may be pierced. She has a small homemade tattoo of a purple Playboy bunny on her pelvic region. Danielle's nickname is Danny. So she attended Tate High School and was a member of the cheerleading squad. That's interesting. She was popular at school 2001 and enjoyed dancing and drawing. Her loved ones told investigators that she had friends who may have had a negative influence on her behavior at the time. So these are the two people that are basically on the hook for this. Robert Louis Barrett Jr. I think he's in prison right now. I'm not sure. And there's another guy down here, the friend Alfredo Gomez Sanchez Jr. So let's go back to this, and let's go back to this and read this. We will. But I've been wanting to cover this case for a while. So let's. She's been missing 24 years now. Yep. I am. I am on Facebook. I don't technically have my own, Owl on a Prowl Facebook thing here yet, but pretty soon. Let's go back to this here.
Scene at the time. Danielle's sister is on a mission now to bring her kids to.
The story of this one is just such a sad thing because, I mean, you'll see. It's just an awful. It's just an awful look, and I just, every time I see this story and hear this story, it's just, it makes me very angry here.
To light and uncover the truth.
My sister was the outgoing one.
Yeah, no, I don't think anybody wants to hear me sing. John Paul's good. He's very good stuff. What's good too is what is his name? I forget his name now. Oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. Now I'm not going to remember his name. Oh, I'll remember it at some point here.
One that had a lot of friends. She was a cheerleader, and
he's been in here a few times. I forget his name now. I used to see him all the time. Necessarily, Evil would know who I'm thinking about. He did some of the music for Kristen Behind the Crime Door. He's done. He plays a lot of heavy metal stuff.
she liked meeting new people. One of the last times I saw her, we had our photos taken together on Pensacola Beach, and we just had a great day together.
Danielle Bell, only 15 at the time. The photo now on a missing poster.
I just remember her promising to call me the next day.
Danielle's best friend remembers the
Yeah, that's
happier
him.
times.
Yeah, that's him. Tech Death Hippie. Yes. I'll let you know. Hold on a second. I'll put my hold on a second. This is my email here, so you can send things there. Tech Death Hippie is awesome. Yes, you're right, Charles. I knew you'd know it because all right, so back to this here.
We talked every day. We were.
I just feel so bad for the sister here. The sister has been just searching for her sister for years now, and she's gotten literally no help whatsoever, none, zippo.
Almost inseparable until she started dating
Alfredo Sanchez, who was 24.
Honestly, at 13 even, I didn't want to be around him. I could tell, it was just off. He was older than us. He just kind of gave me, the heebie-jeebies.
On September 28, 2001, witnesses saw Danielle at this park, reportedly hanging out with Sanchez and people he knew before going to a party on Cedar Tree Lane.
Cedar Tree Lane, so that's I'll have to look that up.
The house belonged to Sanchez's friend, a convicted felon, 24-year-old Robert Bassett. Danielle never made it home.
I knew Friday something was not right when she didn't come home, or I didn't hear from her, But by Sunday evening, I knew, and that's when I called 911.
Danielle's mom spoke with our affiliate WKRG in 2017 about her suspicions.
Too much evidence and things pointing to that she was murdered that night.
About 2 weeks before her disappearance, Danielle had shared devastating news.
She called me and she was crying, and she was just telling me that she thinks she's pregnant with Alfredo's baby and she doesn't know what she's going to do.
My mom said that my sister told her that Alfredo had told her if she said anything to anyone, he would murder her.
A pregnancy could expose the relationship and land him in prison.
All I know for sure, she was last seen
Have a good night, JP. Good to see you. Have a great night. Stay safe. Always good to see John Paul in here. Does great music, great work. Go check out John Paul. Great stuff. Not easy to be a musician these days. You play bass guitar too? Never easy to find a good bass guitar player. I learned that my entire life. Never like Alfredo. More of a spaghetti guy.
Robert Bassett's house, and that prior to her disappearance, she had been involved in a sexual relationship with a 24-year-old man, which is really child sexual assault.
Even though searchers never found Danielle, in 2005, Alfredo Sanchez was charged and convicted of felony sex offense against a child after multiple people recounted knowing about his relationship with Danielle.
So let's go for a ride, shall we? Hold on a second. Because this was easy to find. So this is Cedar Tree Lane here. Let me see if we can. Oh, I don't even have to do it right here. Right here. Cedar Tree Lane. Here we go. That kind of just looks like the house right there, doesn't it? It was 2001, so remember that. But this is where she was last seen, I think, here, or she was seen here with this guy, and there's a park in here. It looks like this is the park or something. Look at all this land. Holy shit. All right, so this is, I found the street here, so that's what it is here. All right, so let's go back to the trying to create an intro video for my channel with music that's partially mine. Buckle up. That's classic, yeah. I should say let's go on a flight with the owl, but I just say let's go for a drive for now. Let's go here and do this. So this guy here is a piece of shit. Alfredo Sanchez, felony SEX offense against SO against the child. Lewd lascivious behavior, battery. So he's not a nice guy. Engaging in sexual activity. He was charged with this. Her too here. Observed him. You know, just he's not a good guy at all.
And witnessing them together. Robert Bassett is currently in prison on unrelated charges, including felony battery. Neither man has been charged in connection with Danielle's disappearance. Over the years, sporadic developments. In 2010, police searched the septic tank at Bassett's home, where Danielle was last seen. They wouldn't reveal what led to the search.
It's always good to to be honest with you. But it's always good to see Jocelyn here. Always good to see Miss Barbara. Miss Barbara's awesome. Great person. Right.
Only that they didn't find anything. In 2012,
So there were human remains discovered basically right down the street from where she went missing. This is back in 2012, I think, and she wasn't her.
Remains were reportedly discovered off a dirt road near Alfredo Sanchez's home, but determined not to be Danielle's.
Hi, my name is Bonnie, and my sister Danielle Bell.
I just feel so bad for this person right here, I really do. This is her sister. She's just the oldest sister too, and she's been trying to find answers from this, and she hasn't. I think there was one guy on the case early on that was helping quite a bit, but I think he retired. But she's got no help at all whatsoever.
Missing since 2001.
Now, more than 20 years later, Danielle's sister is on a TikTok crusade.
Because I am chasing and tracking down every single lead.
This is the thing. You just want to help. You just want to try to help as much as you possibly can because these people are going through hell. I mean, this is something, this is something that you probably don't ever, every second of every day, you're probably thinking about this shit and saying, when is this going to be over? It's never going to be over for these people. So you just want to help. That's all.
She's critical of the sheriff's office handling of the case and is now pushing for a new agency to take a fresh look.
I think there were individuals at that party that night that knew what happened, and they've been scared to talk. And now that it's been 23 years and the main suspects are in prison, that they will talk now.
It's time to speak out and just let's give Danielle justice. It's been a long time. If you know something, let us know. It's been hard.
Danielle's mother, Susan Bell, died from a drug overdose in 2020. Bonnie says that she blames her mom for knowing about the inappropriate relationship between Danielle and Alfredo Sanchez and allowing it to continue in exchange for drugs. Bonnie is with us now, continuing her crusade for answers.
Thank you, Paula. Appreciate that. I try to do a lot more stuff on the channel than I can. No excuses. I probably should do a little bit more, but I am going to try to go through some of the missing person cases of the week thing and try to separate them and label them and stuff like that. It's just, where do you find the time? But I will try to do that at some point. That way, people can watch it and whatever, share it or whatever.
In her sister's disappearance. Bonnie, thank you. It takes a lot of courage and bravery to do what you're doing. I appreciate you joining.
It's Jenny. It's Jenny 8675309. Good to see you. Always good to see Jenny in here. I saw you the other day. Where the hell was I? I think it was over there on Criminal TV that I saw you on. But it's always good to see Jenny in here. Great person. Great person.
Joining us.
Thank you so much for.
You doing okay, Heather? Is Heather okay? There she is. Okay.
Having me and just what you're doing and giving a voice to Danielle and this first piece of national news coverage. So it means a lot. Thank you.
Right. And it means a lot for you to be her voice, to speak out and be her advocate all these years later. Tell us about your sister. I think that's a good place to start. What you remember about her, what you miss about her.
All right, buddy. We'll leave the light on for you. Whose birthday is it? Is it Jenny's birthday? Well, if it's your birthday, happy birthday. Send hugs, my friend. I have no idea what's going on.
Danielle was 6 years younger than me, and we always, shared a room there. One of my fondest memories of her was she used to tell me, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Daria that was on MTV in the 90s, but she said, Bonnie, you're Daria and I'm Quinn. And it was so true. We were so different, but had such a close relationship. We enjoyed going to the beach together. She had a lot of friends, a lot of people that loved her. People loved to be around her. And there's not a day, even almost 24 years later, that I don't think about her.
Hard to believe it's been that long, Bonnie, several decades. And here you are still wondering.
Okay, so let's, I'm just going to read this instead of going in and out of it all the time. Investigators stated that another male told officers that Bassett saw Danielle on September 30th and provided Bassett's contact information to law enforcement. Bassett allegedly stalked the individual for 7 days afterwards. He was arrested sometime after Danielle disappeared. But no charges have been filed. in connection with the case. Authorities searched Bassett's residence after his arrest, but officials declined to publicly announce if any evidence was taken from the scene. Witnesses said that Danielle visited a park on the corner of Escambia Avenue and Lakewood. Hold on a second. Lakewood Ave. Lakewood Ave in containment on September 30th. So let me see if I can copy that. So let me read that again. Witnesses said that Danielle visited a park on the corner of Escambia Avenue and Lakewood Avenue in Cantonment on September 30th, 2001. The area where she was seen is near Bassett's house. So let's see here.
What happened?
Absolutely. I think that the facts in Danielle's case speak for itself. I believe that this case can be solved. We just need the right set of eyes on it. So part of my motivation to continue is to get those eyes on it. And so just telling her story and asking those that are way smarter than me to help. I've talked to podcast creators, retired detectives that have taken a look at the documentation that I do have. And we all believe that it can easily be solved through either re-questioning the suspects or, having new eyes look at it.
Right. And sharing it far and wide. I want to talk to you, Bonnie, about some of the interactions between your mom and this older man that your sister was seeing, Alfredo Sanchez. At one point, your mom was interviewed and said she believed that your sister, Danielle, was murdered. Do you share that belief? And tell me about any interactions your mom had with Sanchez.
No such thing.
So I do believe that Alfredo Sanchez and Robert Bassett murdered my sister, and they know where her body is, and I want them to tell us. I know that my mother was receiving drugs from Alfredo Sanchez. I also am aware that after my sister told my mom that she thought she was pregnant by Alfredo Sanchez, that
So this is going to be, hold on a second here. This is confusing. So it must be Lakeview Ave because there's no such thing as Lakewood Ave. This is Escambia Avenue here. This is Lakeview Ave right here. So if we go this way, so it says witnesses said that Danielle visited a park on the corner of Escambia Avenue and Lakewood Avenue in Cantonment. So this is right here. This is it. This is the park right here. So it's got to be. Let's turn around here. It's got to be right here. This is the park right here. Right in here. Right here. So this is where that was. So witnesses said that Danielle visited a park on the corner of Escambia Avenue, and we're going to call it Lakeview Avenue in Cantonment. September 30th. The area where she was seen. She was seen as near Bassett's house. So his house is somewhere around here. And it's probably right. I'll find that too. Anyways, just wanted to point that out to people because I found this where this was. All right, so go back to the video here.
Alfredo Sanchez was indeed.
So there was a party, so it could have been anybody.
around my mother and my sister because I witnessed it 2 weeks prior to my sister's disappearance. You know, I can tell you that my mom was a heavy meth addict.
This is the really sad part right here because from what the sister is saying, mom wasn't all that great.
Think back to some of the things that she said over the years, and she was always apprehensive of me doing podcasts and national media. Looking back over it, and it's almost heartbreaking to think about the level of selfishness that my mother possessed, and that, you know, I believe at the end of the day, she was aware of the relationship between Danielle and Alfredo, and she either at least turned a blind eye in exchange for drugs.
They canceled school here too on Thursday because everybody's been sick. There's a lot of shit going around, and I don't want any of it.
And my sister fell victim to not only Alfredo and Robert, but her own mother.
That's just so freaking sad. It's just so. I'm telling you, drug addicts, people who are under that spell, will do anything at times, and I don't think this person had the greatest upbringing here. Just my opinion.
Do you believe, Bonnie, that your mom knew what happened to Danielle?
You know, I don't know that I believe that she knows where or knew where Danielle's body is, or that she was a participant in that. But at minimum, I believe she knew.
I think her mom died. Yeah, Monday. It's so weird this time of the year because Monday is President's Day, but they don't celebrate it at school until next week around here. So,
about the relationship between Alfredo Sanchez and her daughter, and turned a blind eye, or at most trafficked her to them in exchange for drugs.
Wow, that's hard to wrap your mind around. I know as Danielle's big sister. Take us back to that time. How old were you, and what did Danielle share with you about?
You have patients. You're a doctor working with. Yes, her mom OD'd, I think. He's in jail, I think. He's in I think he's in he was later convicted of lewd and lascivious behavior, molestation of a MAing or whatever they call it, in connection with essaying with Daniela before. So he was she was a minor and he wasn't, so that's what he went to jail for. He was also charged with lying to investigators. He's not a nice guy at all. Period.
Alfredo Sanchez, or this group of older men that she was hanging out with?
So I was 20. Prior to Danielle's disappearance, about 2 weeks before.
You're a psychologist? Wow, that's pretty good. Doctorate of psychology. That's so fantastic. I've never played a doctor. I've never was a doctor, or I'm never going to be a doctor. I play a doctor in my own head. That's so fucking funny.
I took her to get pictures made on the beach, on Pensacola Beach. And on the way back home to her house, where she was.
This is your typical house in Florida. One story here, no basement whatsoever. Brick house, brick ranch, basically. And if you see any ants, especially red ones, run away from them.
Was living with our mom. She asked me to stop at a payphone so she could call her friends where I got you. Well, why my mom if Alfredo could come get her. This is the first time I had ever really heard of Alfredo, and
I got to read this here. 11.5 years of college and 335K in loans. Yep, that's great United States right there, bruh. I haven't maimed anything, so I think I'm pretty good. I like the chat better. The chat is awesome.
he ended up showing up at at their house. It was a school night. It was like a Sunday night. It was later in the evening. Sorry. And when he showed up with two other men that were around his age, much older than my sister. They were my age. So I started questioning my mom as to why she was letting my sister hang out with these older men. And not only that, but go off with them in the evening time on a school night. And my mom told me, that she knew Alfredo Sanchez and he was a good guy, and that it was okay. And my sister, of course, got upset with me, told me to mind my business. So we got into an argument, and that was the last time I saw my sister. Wow. I got up and I left. Yeah.
Trying to help her,
Is it Christmas yet? Because I got to send him a battery charger. I think he was here. I just saw him. Yeah, it sounds like she was a fine mother. It's just my opinion. That's why I feel so bad for this person here. She's been looking for answers for so long, and nothing's come of it. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a mother to fall back on, but she doesn't have that either. She's got no help
to guide her and trying to intervene. What do you know now about the police searches, any questioning that they did of Alfredo Sanchez or Robert Bassett, one of his friends at the house where your sister was last seen? Where did that questioning go?
I think it almost sounds as if that's what was happening. She was buying drugs that way. Yeah, isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? This is the first thing. It's almost like she was pimping her out. If you can, I mean, as bad as that sounds, that's exactly what it sounds like.
And can you elaborate on why they're both in jail now, and have you had any contact with them?
So Alfredo Sanchez couldn't be found at first. When they did find him, he said he didn't even know my sister. And about 3 or 4 years after that, after she went missing, we had.
Do you think it's Dino's way of just saying, I'm out of here? It's too late for me, and I'm going to use the cell phone battery thing as the excuse. I think that's what my spidey senses are telling me. A 14-year-old shouldn't know about the Playboy Bunny. Exactly, especially as a tattoo. Yeah, that's what's it's telling me that the upbringing wasn't all that great.
Had an amazing detective by the name of Mark Schmeester, who re-questioned all of the people that attended both parties, as well as Alfredo Sanchez, and discovered that he had had sexual relationships with juvenile females, so sexual assault against other juvenile females, and he is now serving 40 plus years in prison for 2 counts of lewd and lascivious behavior, one of those victims being Danielle. His best friend, Robert Bassett, has a very lengthy list of felony charges and domestic violence and an abuse towards women. So he's in and out of prison often. I have not talked to Alfredo Sanchez. Last time I saw him was in one of his court.
Okay, so do a little bit more reading here. In the summer of 2007, Sanchez was charged with lying to investigators about his whereabouts at the time that Danielle disappeared. He also told authorities he was with his female cousin at the time. Danielle went missing, and he had not seen Danielle for 2 to 3 weeks prior to his disappearance. Sanchez's cousin initially backed up his story, but then later recanted and said he had not been with her. So he lied about the alibi. Where do we get that from, right? Sanchez has not been implicated in Daniel's disappearance, however. So maybe they think he did it. They probably just don't have enough evidence. Danielle's disappearance remains classified as a runaway, but foul play is now suspected in her case, but they haven't ruled out the runaway thing yet. She may have traveled to Panama City, Florida, New Orleans, Louisiana, or the state of Alabama. There's also a possibility that Danielle remained in Pensacola after her disappearance. Some agencies may list September 28th, 2001 as the date of Danielle's disappearance. So there's a discrepancy here between the 30th of September and the 28th of September. That's what this page says. So, and this was updated. This wasn't updated. This hasn't been updated since July 18th, 2015. So that's news. I mean, this hasn't been updated for a while. All right, so let's go back to this here.
Drinks. Robert Bassett has a history of calling and leaving me voicemails.
Is that Charlotte? Charlotte's here. Hey, Charlotte. Where's Charlotte? Is Charlotte here? Oh, she's not here. She'll be here shortly. Let's hope she comes in soon. I haven't seen Charlotte for a long time. Let's hope she comes in soon.
Telling me that he is watching members of my family and
I don't know. Something's telling me this guy didn't do it.
And making threats. Anytime I have put his name out on social media, he has attacked back. He's a
It's kind of obvious. It's kind of too obvious. I know you guys had me going here for a while. I thought Charlotte was in here, but apparently she's not in here yet. It's early for her though. Still, she's in England. It's 2:30.
mean, evil dude. And he gets out of prison again the end of this year, I believe.
So it's like 24 years. If I do my math right, 24 years since she's been missing. So
Back to my earlier comment, I think it's courageous and brave.
I mean, it is highly possible that she just went, live somewhere else. There's always that possibility. If it's probable, I don't think so, but it's always possible.
That you continue to speak out on your sister's behalf and you're on this crusade. What has come of you spreading the word about your sister's disappearance on social media?
You don't think she's a runaway? Charlotte is awesome. Charlotte's an amazing person. She's arguably the class act. Yes, he's a menace. He's got a very large head. Yeah. You don't think she's a runaway? I mean, neither do I, but it's possible. She might have been trying to run away from her mother.
Media on TikTok, and what has that brought to you as you try to draw attention to her case?
Well, over the past 20 some odd years, I've been posting on Facebook regularly.
It's possible she could have been sold.
I started posting about her on TikTok a couple years ago, and that is the most traction I've gotten, where people have shown care and concern and helped me make connections with podcasts, even News Nation. If it weren't for TikTok, I don't think I would have.
The first thing I would have done is I would have interrogated everybody that was at that party. Everybody that was at that party would have been interrogated, in my opinion. That would have been the first thing.
Been able to.
Danielle Bell and her sister's quest for justice. I'm trying to get this story out as much as I possibly can because I just feel bad for the surviving sister here. He's gotten very little help.
To record the podcast. I think I'm up to 8. The goal this year is 10 podcasts about Danielle's case. I've met other people that have missing loved ones or murdered loved ones, and I've created a community around me of people that show care and support and have, given me the drive and motivation to keep going. I mean, this is not, as you said, it is kind of scary sometimes, but I've never been one to back down from conflict. And
does Dirty Diana have a channel? Okay, so this is a write-up on her. Missing since September 2001. She was in a relationship with this guy here at 14. This is not good here. This is usually a problem. 24 and 14 don't mix. Last seen at a party at Sanchez's friend's house. So that's why I said I would have questioned everybody here at this party. And that party was at this road here, Cedar Tree Lane. Which Cedar Tree Lane is very, very close to that Escambia Avenue and Lakeview Avenue, and basically around that park that we were just at. So you don't have a channel, okay?
at the end of the day, I feel like
If you're a psychologist, you would do great in the true crime community if you got a channel. That's just my personal opinion. Let's see here.
my sister deserves, to have her story not only, figured out and solved, but her story told at a bare minimum.
Bonnie, take me to 2010 and this search at Bassett's house, and then 2 years later, some remains were found. What came of all of that in the investigation?
Yeah, so 2009, 2010, sorry, 9 years after she went missing, they finally searched the septic tank at Robert Bassett's house. They said they didn't find anything, but then again, I've always questioned, why would you wait so long? And yes, there were human remains.
Something's telling me that these guys that they pictured here are not that intelligent to do stuff like that. They don't look intelligent enough to come up with a plan like that to hide her body in a septic tank, or they don't, in my opinion, they don't look all of that. They don't look all that smart, but you never know. Strange how there was a body found there somewhere, just not hers. So I wonder who that is and how that happened.
Found, which we did find out were not Danielle's. But when we get these pieces of information and an unknown, like when we found out there were human remains, of course it was near where she was last seen. We were anxious. We wanted to know if it was her. The communication, we found that out by watching the news.
What ogre? I don't want to be compared to that ogre on HTC. Hidden True Crime? Is that her? I don't know. Probably starting trouble. I don't mean to. Shibby could be your Dr. John. Heather's full of good ones sometimes. I don't know. I don't know that answer. Why would somebody be terrified of horror movies but be able to watch true crime and see autopsy pics with no issue? Yep, exactly. Dr. John, I don't even know who. Do I know who Dr. John is? I know who Doctor Who is. I don't know Dr. John. I don't think I know. Could never be an H. She's so disgusting. I have no idea. I don't know.
I feel like the communication from the Escambia County Sheriff's Office has been poor at
Look at this thing right here. This is the drug pit right here. Right here, the sit-around drug pit right there.
I feel like the communication from the Escambia County Sheriff's Office has been poor at most. Minus, having a really awesome detective for a few years, it's hard to get them to respond or answer. But it always brings us into hope, for sure.
Is the case still open? Is it an active investigation? And are you currently working with a private investigator?
So it depends on who you ask if the case is active or not, because I flew down back to Pensacola and met with the Sheriff's Department last spring. They were going to be starting a panel review, meaning that they were going to pull in people from other areas of the police department to provide weekly reviews of Danielle's case.
I think it's interesting here that it says, I don't know where they get this information from, but she may have traveled to Panama City, Florida, New Orleans, Louisiana, or the state of Alabama. I don't know where they got that information from. And I don't know who's saying that. But it seems like this paragraph here, Danielle's disappearance remains classified as a runaway, but foul play is now suspected in her case. She may have traveled to Panama City and those other places I just mentioned, but I wonder where that's coming from. Could be just rumor.
Come up with an action plan. So I met with them in April, I believe, and I was promised by July 31st that they would have an action plan moving forward. July 31st came. I never heard back from them, sent several emails, and then they told me that they could not.
The law enforcement isn't going to tell the family anything. They're just not. They tell little things, stuff that's not going to really get involved in the case. And then they just sit. When the case goes cold, they shelve it, and then they work on others, other crimes, other stuff that they can solve. So they shelve it. It becomes a cold case. And it's going to be frustrating to the family because they don't know anything. But this person here is basically the family. I mean, there's probably other, spider webs of family out extended from her, but this is the main family right here, the sister right here. So what they're doing and why they're doing it, I don't know, but they don't usually tell the family anything, and it becomes exhausting for these people to not know anything at all for 24 years. It just sucks. And people want answers. I don't blame them.
Provide me with additional information because it was an active case. I have asked them what their definition of an active case is, and of course,
I mean, you just can't go on with your life without knowing what's going on. You just it's got to be like your life basically freezes. It's just your brain is constantly thinking about trying to solve what's going on here, and I don't know. This is just sad. It's just a sad, horrible tragedy here, and this person here is, like I said, getting nowhere.
they haven't responded.
It's incredibly frustrating, I know, for you, Bonnie. As people watch this, if there were people who were in your sister's life around that time who have been scared to come forward, anyone who knows anything, what is your message to them as you yourself?
Dino's back from his beer run. I don't know where Charles went. He said he was coming back. He didn't come back. I need more information on the person. Come up with a good theory, like any experience or tragedy. What's their experience with horror movies? Nothing like a good horror movie. Then again, I'd probably nothing like a good comedy, in my opinion. Yep, you did, Jenny. You did. You are psychic. You knew he was coming back. I mean, they all look happy in this picture here.
Self lead this investigation.
So I myself have, kept my direct messages open on all social media platforms. I have asked people to email me, talk to me. I will talk to anybody that wants to talk.
That's an awesome picture right there. That's got to be This is her probably here, the older sister, and she's holding a baby here. I want to know where the father is. Is there a father at all involved in this thing here? I always ask that. I don't know why I always ask that, but
You're welcome to call the sheriff.
did the mother have a husband, or what happened to, what happened to her father?
Department. I know that I have given them leads in the past and they have not followed up on them. So I'm trying to collect information myself. Even if you think you don't know anything that might actually solve the case, but you know of any kind of activity.
There's an emoji for everything. Look at, they have Mino Dino here running for the beer. Hi, Dean. How's Mama? What the fuck? Yeah, you are. Poor Barbara. Just sucks. Yeah, where's Heather's tequila?
Surrounding these two gentlemen or my sister, as far as I'm concerned, I want to know that information because there's nothing too small. You might have a piece of information that, will solve it. But if you were there and you know what.
This case might be something like that. It might be something like somebody was at the party and saw something and they don't want to say anything because if they say something, something may happen to them when these guys get out of jail. Something like that.
Happened to Danielle Bell, please reach out. All I want to do is bring her body home. She deserves to be put at rest in a proper way, and her family, not just me, but the rest of her family deserves to have those answers.
Yeah. And that her life meant something. Before I let you go, Bonnie, what were your sister's plans for her future? She's young. She was only 14. What were her hopes and dreams?
Danielle really loved animals, cats in particular. She talked about being a veterinarian. And I wish she would have had that opportunity.
I do too. Bonnie Bell, thank you for reaching out. Thank you for speaking out on your sister's behalf. And please let us know any updates in the case so that we can share it with our audience as well.
Thank you so much, Marnie.
Thank you,
All
Bonnie.
right, so that's that. That's the end of that one there. I'm going to try to, I'm not like Dr. John, can't give my opinion without all the info. Yeah, that's what they all say. Yes, we do love Miss Barbara. Miss Barbara is an amazing person. All right, so we're gonna go to the dick face here. Let's go to let's do the Brian Kohlberger thing here. Hold on a second. He's been in the news. Everybody's been in the news lately, not just him. But this is Banfield again here. Banfield and this guy here, I like him. Eaton, he's pretty decent, I guess. But apparently there's some mystery DNA going on here. This was done a few days ago. Brian Kohlberger's defense team brought up 2 DNA samples from unidentified males at the home. There's DNA all over the place in that house. Where he is accused of unaliving 4. We know that. Palm Beach State Attorney Dave, this guy here, so we're going to go into this DNA stuff, and they're going to probably try to debunk it. But anytime you hear mystery DNA, they're going to try to debunk it.
It was something here. We were all just a little kind of flummoxed by that did not meet the criteria. The 2 other blood samples, the one from the railing in the house, don't know if it's first or second floor, basement or middle floor, or third floor, or the blood in the glove found outside. What does that mean when the prosecutors might say it didn't meet the criteria to feed it into CODIS?
Do I know who Hidden True Crime is? Physical evidence they have against
this to try to match it up with other people.
Well, good to be back with you, Ashley. Hello, Brian. So here's the deal. CODIS users have to adhere to some strict eligibility guidelines before you can enter a profile. And that's because back when Congress enacted the law back in 1994 called the DNA Act, it recognized that the creation of this database would contain genetic data. So they wanted to ensure that only the genetic information from criminal perpetrators was entered. And so the evidence here must be linked to the perpetrator. So for example, if you have a murder that takes place at a party house, that's what you correctly describe this house as, investigators could seize empty beer bottles. And if there's a DNA profile on the beer bottles and the investigators want to send it up to CODIS, they cannot. It's ineligible because although it could be linked to a perpetrator, it could just as easily be linked to someone who's uninvolved. So they want to protect those who are uninvolved. So whether it's beer bottles or whether it's gloves found outside or handrails inside the house, which may or may not be linked to the floor where the murders occurred, it's the same thing. They're not eligible to be entered into CODIS.
It's so bizarre. I just assumed if there was blood on a piece of evidence anywhere in a house where 4 murders happened, you want to find out who those people are and then clear them. But it's shocking that CODIS has that kind of strict requirement. Bizarre. And I get it. Having DNA, a speck of it on a knife sheath, that's a whole other ballgame, right? That's the murder
Very
weapon.
different.
How about this other issue? Right. How about this other issue that Brian and I were just talking about? And that is that Ann Taylor says, and I'll repeat it because the wording matters here. She said, police found absolutely no connection between Koberger and anybody from 1122 King. There's no.
So many people's pages here, channels that I sometimes have no idea who they actually are as real people, but I know that I go, I know there's a really good creator called It's a Crime. I think it's just It's a Crime. It's not Crime and Jam. I've been there, but just It's a Crime. She's amazing. It was a party house. There's bound to be blood and DNA everywhere. Exactly. This is the comment here. I have no idea. I don't know. HT, Hidden True Crime. I have no idea. The only thing I know, like I've been trying to say this a lot with the witness. I mean, if the witness sees Brian Kober walking towards her, right behind the door, where's the knife? Did she say she saw a knife? I mean, is he holding the knife? Is the knife, the whole knife and the knife sheath don't make any sense to me whatsoever. Is he walking by her just holding the knife, dripping blood? Is the knife in his pants? I don't think the knife would be in his pants. Doesn't he notice that he doesn't have the sheath with the knife? I mean, the whole knife sheath to me thing is just, how do you leave a knife sheath behind? I mean, just, and not know that you didn't take it.
No blood in his car. He wasn't connected to that house, to the people in that house. No blood in his car, but she doesn't say there was no blood in his apartment, no blood on his things. She saw
I know who that is.
Car. Can we take her at face value that?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I know who that is. Now I know who that is now. Wasn't she at the Delphi trial a lot? Her husband is a forensic psychologist. Okay. Journalist. I was almost a journalist once.
That she meant all of that when she said no connection to the people in that house?
Ann Taylor is a savvy lawyer. When she says car, she means car.
Journalism is probably one of the most cutthroat businesses, other than waitressing and waitstaff. Yeah, she was there at Delphi. Yes, that's how I know her. She does. So she reviews cases and then comes in and gives her opinion. And she calls her. Oh, gotcha. Yep. Okay, I know who that is now. Thank you.
Car. And I point you to the excellent argument from one counselor, Ashley Banfield, who said that
journalists will literally step right on your face to get a story. They will step all over you. Trump, they'll like put their foot right in your face just to step right on your face to get a story. They don't care. That's their job. Their job is to get the story, and if they don't get the story, guess what? They're not going to have a job anymore. That's a journalist. They are cutthroat people. They will literally, most of them, and I shouldn't say all of them, but most of them. It's a crude business, man. If you don't get the story, guess what? You don't have a job.
That car wasn't found until 6 weeks after the murders. 6 weeks, a long time for someone who is a doctoral student who's used to researching this kind of stuff to know how to.
It's the way it is. That's journalism, especially if you're in political journalism. You've got to get the story. If you don't get the story, guess what? You're going to be working somewhere else. It's not going to be there. And these days here, journalists are hard to come by. So they literally go and get the students out of journalism school to. I went to college for that. I went to college for all of that shit. All right.
Get rid of evidence, to wash the car, to be able to sanitize all the insides of the car. And I think that's what happened. I think this guy, to me, clearly did it. And he took great pains to try to dispose of all the evidence. And in the end, they have his DNA on the night.
If this guy doesn't plead, this is going to be a tough case. People keep saying that, and I probably say the same thing. But this is going to be a tough case in court. He's got a good lawyer. She's a fantastic lawyer. And if anybody can get this guy out of this unaliving charge here, it's going to be her. And you never know. I've seen it happen before.
Sheath. That's the biggest evidence here. They also have him driving the car that was used. They also have him using his cell phone before the murder to scope it out.
It really is. She's one of those. She's one of those lawyers that she kind of looks a little timid, facially and stuff, but she will eat you alive, man. She's a good lawyer. They have their hands full. Yep. Absolutely. It happens a lot, but this statement right here, Ann Taylor, they're not playing with they're not playing with the same defense lawyer here. She's really good.
The cell phone was turned off during the murders. How interesting that the only time his cell phone was turned off was right during the murders. He's an unlucky guy, just like his alibi, where he said he was searching for stars, looking at stars at that time of night. No witnesses, of course. He was just out there stargazing in his hardtop Hyundai in the middle of winter. Okay.
Yeah, those are all the things that jurors have to decide.
I mean, opinion-wise, I probably would side on the fact that he's probably guilty too, but I mean, like I said in the Delphi case, my opinion means zippo. It comes down to 12 people, man, and I've seen people get away with worse. Like I've seen, and I honestly thought that I know. What the hell was his name? The guy that just Murdaugh. I thought Murdaugh was going to get away with it too until he took the stand. Once he took the stand, that case was over.
Is that reasonable? And sometimes they can get over it when it's just one thing that they have to leave over. But if there's a whole chain of weirdo stuff that they're meant to just gobble up, they start to, get sick over it. And that gut tells them too many coincidences, too many silly stories, too many coincidences that I'm not prepared to let go of. Real quickly, only a couple seconds left, Ehrenberg, but I do have to ask you about the fruit of the tree business. Do you think we're going to have one of those Franks hearings to determine if the way the FBI went into the public databases to get that genealogy linked to Koberger's dad was not fair according to the courts, and thus everything after it gets tossed in the garbage, which is kind of like the entire case almost?
Ashley, who has the privacy interest here? Whose rights are being harmed? Perhaps his relative, whose DNA should not have been accessed. But does Koberger have an interest in his distant relative's DNA? No. He has no argument here, no claim, dismissed. And not the case, by the way. His argument will be dismissed, not the case. That's going to trial.
So do you think there's actually going to be a Franks hearing to decide that? Or is the judge just going to say, this doesn't even deserve a Franks hearing? Let's just move on.
When in a high-profile case where he's facing the death penalty, they'll give him a Frank's hearing. They'll give him every benefit of the doubt. But in the end, he ain't winning it.
I wonder if that'll delay things. I mean, look, we got a lot to fit in before July, August beginning. So thanks for watching.
So I do want to go to this here. Hold on a second. Because this kind of ties up on this stuff here. Well, give me 2 seconds while I try to pull this up here. We played the double murder suspect guy thing there, right? Hold on a second. I wanted to play. This is it. This is the one I wanted to play here. Okay, so this guy here, this is one of the reasons why I don't have any. I don't feel bad when they get sued because, you know, a lot of people do really, really bad investigative work, and you know, they have these cases all the time that just people get exonerated all the time because they just don't do good investigative work. And this is one of those cases right here where this is something that could happen to anybody right here. This is this guy here was wrongfully arrested from AI. They literally had this is one of those cases that make you cringe, right? This guy here, wrongful AI leads to a wrongful arrest of a Lee County man. This is down in Florida again. This is ridiculous here.
I was just totally mind blown. I don't think I've seen anything around me.
When a crabber in Lee County got a call from someone claiming to be a detective in Northeast Florida, claiming he was involved in a crime hours away, he thought it was a prank. Turns out it wasn't.
And these guys get sued all the time for this stuff, you know, and it costs taxpayers money. You know, that's the problem. You know, they get these trials, these prosecutors, and then you got to pay for that, and then they get you know, exonerated, and you're going to pay for that too. So, I mean, this happens all the time. Look at this beach. This is where I need to be, right there, right on the beach.
I'm just thinking, how in the hell did this happen to me?
He was eventually arrested, and the reasons why left him stunned. Evan Dean has this Gulf Coast investigation that's a warning to all of us.
This is the moment a deputy showed up at Robert Dillon's front door. His face says more than words.
You got any shoes or anything on you?
Are you shitting me, man?
I'm not.
It all happened back in August, just outside Dillon's home in San Carlos Park.
This is crazy.
What is it?
I gotta get my shoes.
What is going on?
What's going on is Dillon is about to be arrested for a crime he never committed.
I'll tell you what, man, I'm gonna put you in the cuff in the front.
This is nuts.
Despite insisting he's innocent, Dillon is handcuffed, put in a police cruiser, and taken to jail.
God, this is nuts.
What? I wouldn't know what to tell you, G. It's not an investigation.
For Dillon, the only thing harder to believe than the arrest itself is where the crime happened and how he was identified as the suspect.
Check this out. Just this is so. Oh my God, this is just so awful. This poor guy, he'll never be the same now. He's just accused.
And I'm thinking, how in the hell did this happen? How did this happen? They say in life everything happens for a reason. I can't for the life of me figure out this one.
More than 300 miles northeast of Lee County sits the coastal resort city of
Look at this. Look at this beach. What the hell am I doing here? Look at this pier. Look at this beautiful pier.
Jacksonville Beach. It's here at a fast food restaurant near the ocean where the alleged crime happened. In November of 2023, a young girl told police that a man, a stranger, had asked her to come with him twice while in the restaurant. She didn't, and the suspect left. But police pulled these surveillance photos of him, and months later,
this is crazy.
Robert Dillon would be placed in cuffs, accused of luring or enticing a child. The problem, Dillon says he's never been to Jacksonville Beach.
Out of the blue, you know, they pick some guy that lives 6.5 hours away and says, "This is you." It blew my mind.
Police reports from Jacksonville Beach PD show detectives initially didn't have much to go on. That is, until the neighboring sheriff's office and the surveillance photos through a facial recognition program, AI, which revealed a 93% match on facial features to Robert Dillon. The report doesn't say what photos of Dillon sparked the match, a driver's license, a mugshot, or something else. He does have a criminal record, including an arrest for DUI and for a bar fight, but no crimes involving kids.
I cannot stand any adult to harm a child in any kind of way. He's got black wavy hair. I don't have wavy hair. You know, he's got a big hole underneath of his eye. I don't have that.
Do you think he ever should have been?
This poor guy. He's just minding his own business at home one day and just gets arrested and
Arrested for this?
I don't. No, it was absolutely a wrongful arrest. It was not Mr. Dillon.
Jacksonville-based defense attorney Brian Crick took on Dillon's case and quickly raised concerns. The police report showed neither of Dillon's license plates were picked up on readers in Duval County, but there's no mention of police checking readers in Lee.
This shit happens all the time, man. Out there. I'm not knocking law enforcement, but once they got the hooks in you, man. Because a lot of times this doesn't happen where they become wrongfully arrested. Sometimes they just, this poor guy.
Lee County. There was also no mention in the report if police pulled Dillon's phone records. A manager at the restaurant did pick his photo out of a lineup, but the report says that same witness described this suspect as a regular customer, and the photo lineup wasn't shown to them until 2 months after the crime.
The more time that passes, the worse somebody's memory is going to be about a specific event.
Aside from the facial recognition program and the one witness identifying him, what evidence pointed to his involvement?
Well, there really wasn't much evidence at all.
AI has become extremely powerful. And part of that is it has become just powerful enough to be extremely dangerous.
Cybersecurity expert Evan Lutz.
You should not take the output of AI as scripture.
All they really need is a witness to ID you, and that's all they really need. They don't need the AI. They don't need anything else. All they need to do is a witness, and they can basically do this to you.
Ever. You always need a person to verify the output of the AI. It is not 100%.
Dillon's attorney shared their concerns about the case with the state attorney's office. He sent text messages showing Dillon had a typical day of work in Lee County on the day of the alleged crime, and sent photos showing differences in Dillon's appearance from the suspect. Ultimately, after reviewing the evidence, the state attorney's office dropped the case.
Well, it's great. I mean, it's certainly great for Mr. Dillon. I mean, I think there's still questions as to how to even get that far.
We reached out to Jacksonville Beach PD, but they refused to answer questions about their investigation. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, which used facial recognition for the case, said the programs are a tool that assists with developing a lead. But
good for you, Jenny. Good for you. Single is so good.
Said they have no concern about the accuracy of the technology. The state attorney's office said they are taking steps to ensure the arrest is not reflected on Dillon's record.
I mean, it could happen to anybody. I mean, that's kind of the scary thing, Somebody that has some resemblance to you, commits a crime, and they use the facial recognition software, and next thing you know, I mean, it could be you.
There was a car parked there, and there was a car parked there.
This time, at least, it was Robert Dillon. He's now trying to find a civil attorney to take on his case.
This is nuts.
After all, he did pay to bond out of jail, pay for an attorney to defend him, pay for a crime he never committed.
I was upset. I was hurt. I just, every emotion you can possibly think, I had it. You cannot wrongfully imprison somebody, no matter who you are.
Good for you, Miranda. Good for you. Born again virgin. That's fucking classic. If I was a woman, man, I'd never get involved in it with anybody ever. You would be the last thing ever. Southern Gal's awesome. Southern Gal's amazing. She's got probably the greatest channel on the planet. I can't believe you didn't have a live last night. But good for you. You need a break. This stuff gets. I'll be going up to Maine fairly soon. I want to go up to. That's awesome. 5 years is good. 5 years is awesome. I want to go up to Maine. I want to go up to J Maine to do some snooping around with the Kimberly Moreau case fairly soon. Once the weather starts to get a little bit better, I'm not going to go up there when it's a blizzard like it is tonight. But one of these days, I'm going to get up there and do that.
Everybody's got rights.
I'm Evan Dean reporting for Gulf Coast.
Look at this beach. This is the Gulf Coast right here. We've been to Cocoa Beach. We've been all around this place here. But this is sweet. Look at all this. Look at all this ocean. This is so fantastic. It's just great. White sands. You can't beat it. All right. So I want to go to this here. This is a, hold on a second. Let me stop sharing that. I'm just saying this stuff happens to a lot of people. Wintry mix down in Durham. You're getting rain already over there. I'll be back Monday night with my missing persons. I'll have to do that. For some reason, I haven't been getting notifications at all because I'm pretty sure I didn't get a notification for Tom Webster and Cryptex. I would have definitely watched that. But it's been pretty slippery out too at night, so I've been trying to keep an eye on the roads. I don't know why I'm trying to keep an eye on the roads. You can't see anything. All right, so this is, I wanted to do this last week, but I ran out of time. This came out 1972. The quiet community of Vernal, Utah was shaken by a violent crime that remained unsolved for 50 years. Investigators suspected that what happened, but were unable to prove it for decades. Advancements in DNA technology have led authorities to the two men they say committed the crimes, one of whom is still alive. So here's this right here.
Murdered and an 8 woman was abducted and raped.
I said, "Where is Greg?" And she says, "They killed him."
That's what investigators say happened, but for 5 decades, we're unable to prove and solve the case. I'm Jim Spiewak, and in this special, I'll take you through the evidence, the investigation, and the advancements in DNA technology that finally led investigators to the two men they say committed these crimes, one of which is still alive.
It was scary, and it's been the talk of Vernal for ever since it's happened.
Let me take you back in time to where this tragedy begins. November 1972, on this lookout point, just to the west of the city of Vernal. 21-year-old Gregory Nickel had just returned from his service in the military, and he was in his car with his 18-year-old date at this lookout point when a total stranger came up to their window, said that he had broken down just off of Highway 40 and needed some help. And that's when that stranger pulled out a pistol, shooting and killing Gregory Nickel, ending his life and changing the life of his date forever. Taken from the victim's account to investigators, in his final moments, Nickel used his body to shield her from the gunfire. The killer forced his way into the car, pushed Nickel's body on top of her, and took control of the vehicle. Since we were unable to contact the victim and she is a victim.
Something else leaving? If you're leaving, something else, good night. 12 years single, 10 years for the other. It's just, I mean, I wouldn't probably, like I said, if I was a woman, I would never date anybody ever. Especially these days. You're still here. Okay, good. No. Barbara, it's a date. All right, let's get back to this.
Of rape, we decided not to use her name.
Remember when it happened. Vernal was a peaceful, quiet town, and it's the first murder I can ever remember.
A second man in another vehicle joined the killer. Marvin Capps has lived in Vernal since before the murder.
Our little town got scary. We was afraid to go out after dark because we didn't know what happened. Things just like that didn't happen around here.
The two suspects then brought the victims here to what is now known as Bruff Reservoir, about 20 miles away from where the initial shooting happened.
Nichols still technically had a pulse at this time, but he wasn't alive for very much longer because the suspects then lit the car on fire with Nichols inside and proceeded to rape the female victim for the first time.
Investigators later determined that a hole in the gas tank had been caused by a large caliber firearm, suggesting the suspects had another weapon with them that night. But the horror didn't end there. The two men drove around for hours on back roads, debating what to do with Nichols' date, who was still alive. During those few hours, the men referred to each other by nicknames like Tex, Johnny, and George. The victim remembered them talking about ranch work, horses, and even claiming one of them had the ability to read minds.
Burned in my head for the rest of my life. I've never forgotten hardly.
Yeah, I know my wingman days are over. Okay, Monday night date with Southern Gal, true crime. Awesome. The last guy that asked me on a date asked if I minded. He did. Oh, that's not good. Well, at least he told you before. Yeah, that's classic. That's sometimes they don't tell you that stuff until it's too late. All right.
Minute of that night.
Lynette Ray grew up in Vernal, but moved away in the 1980s. She's also Greg's sister. Lynette says Greg's date that night was her roommate.
I had had the same room for a couple of years. They had talked to Greg on the phone. They'd see pictures of how attractive he was. And of course, the fact that he wore a uniform didn't hurt. And they were Google-eyed over Greg. They wanted to go meet him.
At least he asked. Yeah, I mean, that's better than some girls get. They get into the relationship, but then they get told.
So I took them home, and he hit it off with one of my roommates.
Greg invited Lynette's roommate to spend the 1972 Thanksgiving holiday in Vernal. The Saturday after Thanksgiving, Lynette and her roommates got ready to head back to school the next day. That evening, they asked Lynette to join them, but she declined.
So I can see the two of them leaving as they walked out that door. And he said to my father, mother, and myself, "Catch you later, folks," and went out the door. And that was the last thing I knew.
When Greg didn't return home, she started to get restless.
And about 5 o'clock, my mother yelled up the stairs.
You guys are all awesome. I want to tell everybody that I appreciate everybody coming in tonight. You guys are all great. Thank you. Almost out of here. A couple more things and we'll get up.
For me to get up. She says, "Do you have any idea where Greg might be?" They haven't come home. And Greg promised that he would be here to go to work with your dad this morning, and he's not home. Where can we look?
Lynette didn't know it at the time, but that was the moment a 52-year search for a killer began.
I went out to the car, and my mother followed me out, and she said, "Be sure and keep your doors locked, and don't open them for anyone." And I looked at her, and I said, "Mom, you've got to be kidding." I said, "This is Vernal, Utah." And I scoffed and laughed at it and left.
Lynette checked a few popular hangout spots where she thought they might be.
The first place I went was the Scenic View. Of course, at that time of the morning, the sun was just coming up, and there was nobody there. No vehicles of any kind. And I wasn't looking for expelled shells on the ground. You know, I had no idea.
There was no sign of either of them.
After driving around backwards, the two suspects stopped here in Duchesne City. That's where they raped the female victim for a second time and finally let her go, telling her to walk to a nearby farmhouse where she was able to get help.
And it was just a short time later the sheriff pulled up to Lynette's house. The sheriff got out with Greg's date.
She was wearing my brother's down jacket, the one that he had left, that he had on when he left the house. And I took one look at her and I said, "Where's Greg?" And she didn't answer me. She just shook her head. And I said, "Where is Greg?" And she says, "They killed him."
What ran through your mind the moment she said they killed him?
I just couldn't imagine. Who killed him? Greg was loved by everyone. He came home a hero.
A small town without their hero.
Everybody was scared. It's one of them I don't know, and what do you do about it?
Investigators in Nichols' family immediately began to ask, who are the suspects? An answer that took more than 50 years to get. After the crime, more than 30 pieces of evidence were sent to the lab for analysis. But investigators in 1972 could only piece together a partial picture of the crime. Whitney Jackson lives in Vernal, and her father has worked on cracking this case.
It's pretty amazing, I think, that the circumstances allowed all the evidence to be kept for so long and be able to be used still, and that we were able to use all the things that they didn't know what to do with at the time back then.
DNA technology would not come online for another 20 years. Amy Newman is now the lab director for the Utah Bureau of Forensic Services.
Sometimes there are cases that have continued to be worked throughout years, and then sometimes we get evidence that the packaging hasn't been opened since the 1950s.
Despite the victim's testimony, collection of DNA evidence, and items at the scene, the case went cold. But the swabs collected from the victim and other evidence were preserved. That and the Book Cliffs connection would become turning points decades later. Decades passed.
You guys are awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks, Mustang. Yeah, Barbara's an absolute winner for sure. Absolutely.
No move in the case. Then in the early 2000s, a major development. The state crime lab, using DNA evidence from the crime back in the 70s, identified 2 male profiles. One of the men, Arthur Bell. Bell lived in the Uinta Basin at the time of the murder. In 2020, the lab confirmed that one of the 2 DNA profiles matched Bell, but he died the year before.
They didn't wear gloves when they were collecting evidence. And so we do have to keep in mind when we're developing profiles, it's good to rule out the person that collected the evidence.
The second DNA profile stayed unsolved until genealogy pointed to the surname Choate. Investigators focused on Daryl Eugene Choate, who had a long criminal history, including sexual offenses. In 2024, police matched his DNA to the crime scene. Newman says the DNA was the missing link, but advancements in technology were needed to make an arrest.
It's particularly helpful when we're dealing with samples that involve complex.
I definitely wouldn't recommend moving to the Northeast. Unless you like really cold weather all the time.
Complex DNA mixtures, so mixtures of up to about 4 people, or low levels of DNA.
We've always wanted to move kind of like we had a place. Like if we were to move from here, we'd always consider moving to the Carolinas for sure, especially Eastern Carolinas, right on the beach.
Or degraded DNA.
Choate, now living in Tooele, Utah, was arrested on October 30th, 2024. The Utah State Lab estimates the chance of DNA error at less than 1 in 6 trillion.
Back in the day, it was like you have to have a whole towel full of blood. And nowadays, it's DNA that you can't even see with the naked eye.
You guys live in the same city? I wonder how the chicken thing is working out for him. Are the chickens still giving him a problem, or?
Now let's take you into the complex world of unsolved crimes. And
This is awesome right here. This is good.
The efforts being made to bring justice to families waiting for answers. DNA first became a crime-solving tool in 1992, and 30 years later, Utah's Bureau of Forensic Services leads the field. In 2024 alone, the lab generated 7,000 DNA reports.
We do latent.
This day and age, anywhere where there's no people, I just have no. And I used to go to concerts all the time with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, like always surrounded by people. We used to go to house parties with people. And these days here, the less people, the better.
Print analysis. We test for controlled substances. We do firearms analysis. And we do digital forensics.
Amy Newman, the lab director for the Utah Bureau of Forensic Services, says that the technology has come so far in just the last few years.
We have gone in the last 30 years from needing a quarter size of blood to just the tiniest fleck of blood. It'd be about 2,500 cells is what we used to need, and now we need around 50.
In 2023, Utah introduced probabilistic genotyping, a data
Wisconsin
analysis.
is way too close to Canada. If I moved anywhere, it'd be south of the Canadian border for sure. You have family there in Wisconsin? You're born and raised in Miami, Florida, and you moved to Portland? I love Florida. If it was up to me, I'd move to Florida tomorrow. Because people will say about Florida they can't stand the heat. They don't like the heat. Give me Florida heat every single day of my freaking life, and I'd be a happy freaking person. Literally, I could. You want to go to New York City? New York City. I love New York City for the culture for sure. Love Little Italy. I've been to New York City thousands of times. We used to go to New York City every year to watch the ball drop when I was younger and drinking.
This method that decodes complex DNA mixtures involving several people, low-level samples, or degraded DNA.
So things before then we would have to say were inconclusive because they were too complicated to analyze, and now we can.
This is where the whole technology is going on nowadays towards the AI generation shit, AI generating, populating stuff, all of this stuff.
The National DNA Database, known as CODIS, includes DNA from all over the country. The more samples it has, the better the odds of generating leads in cases without suspects. Newer techniques like...
Yeah, you got to go where the work is for sure. I couldn't do Texas. I do like Texas, but I wouldn't be able to do Texas. That heat there would probably be a problem for me. But humidity, like Florida, no, I could do that for sure. The drier heat stuff, I don't know if I could do that. And we pretty much live here in the Arctic zone, so I wouldn't be able to do anywhere like this.
YSTR analysis has also become a game changer. This process tracks lineages through DNA, even with...
I couldn't do California because California has the Lakers, and I hate the Lakers. Literally. Yes, rattlesnakes and hunting. No thanks. You want to check out Denver? Never been? Denver, Colorado? They've written songs about Denver, Colorado. I like Boston. Boston's cool. Boston's good. Like I could probably live in Boston. I like the cities too. I don't mind the cities, but these days here, I've done the city thing. I just don't have the patience for people anymore. I just can't. That's why I work nights. I mean, there's nobody.
Individual profiles cannot be identified.
It's passed through father to son to grandson, runs through the male line.
DNA evidence is highly resilient if stored properly. That's why cases from decades ago.
Geez, I hope Charlotte's okay. I haven't seen Charlotte for a long time. Southie? Southie, and I basically spent a few years in Dorchester too. I grew up in Revere. The Italians. Some wicked storms in Texas. Texas is Texas probably has the greatest bars in the world.
Ago are still being cracked today. Newman says DNA is best stored in paper bags and in dry areas.
If it's kept packaged properly, then it can stick around for a really long time.
Newman says in her experience, investigators from decades ago...
You're an actress? Paula's an actress? Yeah, I love the Celtics too. The Celtics are... you got Steelers, Celtics. So I got the Steelers, Celtics. That's like my favorite two teams. Steelers, Celtics. Then probably the Yankees and the Canadians, Montreal Canadiens. Even though I can't stand Canadian people, I'm, pretty 65% Canadian. So I can hate Canadian people. But I do like you know, the Montreal Canadiens, apparently. Yep. You're an actress? No shit. That's awesome. That's so fantastic. Mark and Donnie have a burger joint. Really? There's two things you do if you're from Boston. You either hang out with Irish people or you don't. It's either Irish or Italian people. And I was one of the people that hung out with the Italian people.
Preserved evidence really.
But good luck trying to find an Italian now down in Revere. That's not going to happen, probably.
Well, even though some of it has been initially tested, retesting happens often if there's enough evidence to do so. And investigators regularly retest old evidence using today's advanced methods. Newman says that the results don't lie. There's really no getting around DNA evidence.
It's absolutely unique to an individual. And in the analysis,
if you're ever in Massachusetts, okay, and you find yourself next to Revere or Winthrop or Lynn or anywhere near there, you got to go to Kelly's roast beef. You have to go there, because if you don't go there, you're basically missing out on anything good. It's arguably the greatest place in Massachusetts for food. Paula's an actor. I know, that's awesome. That's so cool. I don't think I've ever met an actress before. So that's awesome. That's great.
part of it is we issue a statistic that says how likely it is that that DNA would be associated with somebody else.
DNA helped Utah clear a massive backlog of unsolved sexual assault kits. In 2015, Steve O'Cam was brought in to help clear that backlog.
I tell people literally this is like the golden age of cold cases and DNA testing.
By 2016, Utah began testing more than 1,700 backlogged kits. In 2020, all of those kits in the state had been tested, and it was an unprecedented.
That's like the coolest thing ever. That's I've never, that is so awesome. You've done mostly background work on movies. That's better than I've done. I wanted to be an actor too, years and years and years ago. I technically act all the time. Medical videos, and I've did one for the Celtics. That's cool. See, this is where we start to part ways here with the Pats and the Red Sox, but I do like the Celtics. It's on my bucket list to visit Boston on St. Paddy's Day. Yeah, it's probably not a good idea. What's it? Who's his face? Is Irish? Ruckus. Ruckus Rocks. He's from Southie. Can you tell? I mean, every time you hear the guy talk, you can tell he speaks Southie. That's who he is. That's Southie right there. He can say he's from Florida all he wants. He's Southie. That's Ruckus is Southie.
Then it turnaround.
He's as Southie as Southie gets.
Laid the groundwork for further innovations in cracking cold cases.
I mean, lots of people like to put puzzles together. We're putting together 10,000 piece puzzles with tiny pieces all the time, trying to figure out how to make it into a final version.
A key tool in working on that puzzle, genetic genealogy. Using DNA from a crime scene, it looks for relatives, pulling from public records and social media to build a family tree. In 2023, Utah created a law spelling out how it's used.
We're here to just obtain the truth, right?
That's so awesome. I would have never thought that. That's so cool. Isn't that the kind of same thing, though? Have you done anything on Broadway, Paula? No?
Uncover whatever that truth may be, and to use every ethical, legal tool we can.
It's important to note that information from these databases is only an investigative lead. Once a suspect is identified, traditional testing must confirm the match before charges can be filed.
I don't think the case was solvable back then. It took this advance in DNA most of all to get this done.
Back in Vernal, nearly a lifetime Later, that's exactly how Choate was identified and charged with Nichols.
Isn't he dead? Didn't Sam Elliott die? I thought he died.
Murder
is awesome to have put it all together, because there were times in that case where we thought there was no hope that anyone would ever be identified in terms of the second suspect.
The crack in Nichols' case started when Ocam was doing outreach in Uinta County in Vernal.
So I was just teaching out there, talking about stuff we had available in, I think it was 2020, and the lead detective was sitting there and he's,
Are you sure? Are you sure he's not dead? I'm going to have to Google that.
like, hey, I think I've got a case for you after. So we met, he showed me the picture on the wall and told me this story.
I thought we lost Vince Neal the other day. Apparently, a plane that he owns, a private plane, went down somewhere out west, I think. And I think the plane was actually owned by him. He's doing insurance commercials. Are you sure that's not AI that's doing it? I'll have to Google it. I'm pretty sure he's not with us anymore.
Almost brought me to tears then. I was in.
Advanced DNA testing is expensive. Grant money helped Uinta County afford it.
Especially rural agencies, smaller agencies, they don't have the budget to write a $2,000 or $5,000 or $8,000 or $10,000 check for a technology they don't know if it will help them solve the case.
SBI has received 2 grants which have proven vital in case.
Can't you just take the T? You don't have transportation down to oh, that sucks. Vince wasn't on the plane when the accident happened. Yeah, that's good. I kind of followed that for a little while, but I didn't hear anything else. But I don't think he would have been on the plane anyways. I know it was a plane he owned or something like that.
Cases like Nichols, which Ocam believes is the oldest cold case currently being prosecuted in the country in early 2025.
Will there ever be a day where cold cases will be gone?
That's absolutely the goal of this technology, is to end the serial killer for sure.
What's the last 52 years felt like for you?
Get out of this here. Hold on a second. I want to play one more thing and then I'll get out of here. Hold on a second. Is this what I wanted to play? Oh, I do want to do this because I'm going to be going into this again next week. This is the more on the Sarah Birchman case here. I don't know. I'm probably going to cover this when this starts to happen, but so I've been following this forever. This is the Sarah Birchman case, but this is 5 big updates on the ex-cop's pregnant girlfriend's murder case. This is the case against Matthew Farwell. This guy's a real piece of crap. Former Massachusetts detective is accused of unaliving his pregnant girlfriend, Sandra Birchmore, then staging the unaliving. We've gone through this before. She was 13 years old when the two met during a community policing program. So she went to this policing program for, because she was 13 years old and she wanted to go through this program, and that's where they met. And this is when this guy, Matthew Farwell, he's causing a lot of trouble. Speaking of Massachusetts. All right, so let's go through this. I'll play a little bit of this and I'll get out of here, but I'm going to probably try to go through this. I wanted to do a little bit more on the long-haul truckers tonight, but I'm not going to have enough time.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Matthew Farwell is accused of grooming Sandra starting when she was only 13 years old.
Dino's taking off. Have a good night, buddy. Stay safe, brother. Good to see you. Always good to see Dino in here. I don't think Dino's got a channel yet. We need to get you a charger for sure.
Sex with her when she was underage too. After that, Farwell is accused of getting Birchmore pregnant before.
Dino's awesome. Dino's awesome. He's been here since day one. Very good guy. Him and Heather light up the chat all the time. They're fantastic people. Have a good week, buddy. Stay safe, man.
Murdering her and staging the death as a suicide. The case was back in federal court just this week, and according to a judge, trial date could be just around the corner. But before we dig deeper into the latest,
There's no such thing as more corrupt than Massachusetts police. I've been there. I've lived it. It's I'm not saying everybody down there is corrupt, but this whole case, this whole area here is just in the weeds for sure.
updates in this case, let's head back to the beginning. That takes us to 2011, when Sandra Birchmore was only 13 years old. That was the same year that she joined the Explorers program with the Stoughton Police Department in Massachusetts. This program was supposed to be a safe way for kids to learn about the criminal justice system. So they would meet with officers.
Yeah, you should, for sure. Oh, should do what you want to do for sure. They have acting classes up here in New Hampshire. They must. I mean, acting schools. Probably nothing like Boston now. I remember going down to the Charles Play Theater all the time, doing the crime dramas all the time. Remember the crime dramas? The Dave Salesky.
For mentoring and even get hands-on experience in a controlled and safe environment. But according to allegations, it wasn't the safe space it was supposed to be for Sandra.
This poor
During her time in that program, she got
this guy is such a living piece of shit. He just is. He just
to know a few Stoughton police officers.
I don't know, everybody's innocent until they're proven guilty, but you know.
Matthew Farwell, his twin brother William Farwell,
And not just him either. There's a whole trio of guys that took a shot at this girl here. That's my opinion.
another officer, Robert Devine. Several officers allegedly began grooming Sandra right around this time, but it was really Matthew Farwell, the defendant in this case, who took the first step. This is straight from the affidavit. Quote, this grooming culminated in Farwell raping Birchmore in April 2013 when she was only 15 years old. At the time of this,
Yeah, she you know, she just unfortunately fell into the wrong hands with the wrong people. And she paid for it with her life, unfortunately. And this whole thing is starting to spark a lot of you know, defense attorneys down there in this area trying to get rid of their cases dismissed because this guy was on a lot of cases.
Salt Farwell was 27 years old. Investigators found some journal entries Sandra had made about all of this too, and some text conversations. In one instance, Sandra writes, "Had butterflies so bad the day you took my virginity." Farwell replies, "Me too, it was such a big
This is going to be a little disturbing.
day." Birchmore says, "Still know the date to this day." Really?
Look at this. Like, this is, fuck, this guy's such a piece of shit. This is, oh my God. Like, oh, this stuff makes me angry. Stuff really, and they can probably prove this because it's probably coming from his phone, right? Or his computer, or his whatever, right? Ugh.
Really? He replies, "Yes."
I'm pretty sure this guy feels like he's such a great guy, right? Like, oh, I just want to punch him right in the face.
She says. He sends back a smiley face. Sandra Birchmore then says, "That's not a date I'll ever forget. It was April 10th, 2013. Smiley face from Farwell. Birchmore replies saying, "Best day."
Can't do it. I just can't. This stuff makes me angry. It's a kid, for God's sake. This is an absolute child.
Of my life," with a face and heart emoji. Farwell replies, "Me too." This comes up again on June 19th, 2020. Birchmore writes, "I'm glad you agreed to take my virginity, though." And Farwell agrees, writing, "Me too." He then says, LOL, if I pushed, I absolutely could have effed you without
Oh my God, I can't do this. Okay. So,
condoms from day one. And Birchmore says, probably if you really pushed it. This next part comes.
don't you just want to run this guy over with a truck?
From Sandra, and it's so heartbreaking. She writes, quote, I was kind of scared to say no in the beginning, not knowing how you take it. So yeah, you would have gotten no condoms, LOL. According to prosecutors, Sandra's relationship with Matthew Farwell continued well past 2011. They continued to talk, meet up, and have sex, sometimes when Farwell was allegedly on the clock, still working for the Stoughton Police Department. This allegedly would happen in his police vehicle in public parking lots like 5
Taxpayer money too, like I mean that's the least of problems, but taxpayer money too. This guy's driving around in a police vehicle. It's just there's nothing good you can say about this at all.
guys or Costco. There's allegations that another police officer also had sex with Sandra in his car, and that Matthew Farwell's twin brother, William Farwell, also sent her explicit texts. But it seems that the relationship between Sandra and Matthew Farwell was the most intense and continued well past her 18th birthday. According to court documents, Sandra wanted to get pregnant with Farwell. She even sent him pictures of her ovulation schedule.
Yeah, she was groomed. I mean, that's what happens. She was groomed very young, and she became attached to this piece of shit. It's like they better not blame the victim here. They better not do that, because there's going to be a lot of people that are unhappy if they do that. All right, I'm going to get the hell out of here. How long have I been here? It's almost 3 hours. Okay, so I'm out of here. I'll be going over this more next week here. I just wanted to play a snippet of that. This was done. This was done a couple of days ago. So I'll keep an eye on this. Hopefully they get this guy here. This guy is the biggest douchebag. He's just as bad as that clown there down in South Carolina. The preacher there, they're all of them. They should all be locked up, literally. Not fit for society, that's for sure. All right, so I want to thank everybody for coming in. Southern Gal, you're amazing. Thank you so much. We love you here. Thank you for all you do in the chat. Southern Gal's channel is amazing. She always has great stuff. Wouldn't be the channel without Southern Gal. Jenny, thank you so much for coming in. It's been good to see you. Paula Fitzhenry, thank you so much. It's always been good having you here. Jocelyn, thank you so much. You're awesome. Dirty Diana, thank you for being in the chat. Miss Barbara, we love you. I hope you're doing okay. I hope everybody stays safe, because there's a lot of sicknesses going around. A lot of bad stuff. Mino Dino was in here. Mino Dino's awesome. Paula Fitzhenry was in here. Who else was in here? I know that Cryptex was in here. Go check out Cryptex. He's great. Him and Farmer are good. And then John Paul was in here. He's got a great channel too. Feel free to check out these great channels, because they got a lot of great content. And anyway, we could push some of these cases to the front. That'd be great. Who else was in here? Strange, I haven't seen Charlotte. I hope Charlotte's okay. I know Charles was in here. Charles is great. Big Fish Small Pond was in here. Mustang 65. Miranda Lee's awesome. Miranda Lee's an amazing person too. I'm probably not going to be able to get to everybody, because it jumps all the time here. But I want to thank everybody that watches on the replay too. I know people watch on the replay, so I thank people very much for that. If I miss somebody, I'm sorry. I can't always jump up to the top. Heather Brown. Did I say Heather Brown? Yes, Heather Brown's amazing. All right, so I'll pull down to the bottom here. Miranda Lee was here. Miranda Lee's awesome. Miranda Lee's great. Thank you for all the new people coming in. I appreciate that too. Let me stop sharing this. I'm going to play my outro. Everybody stay safe. That's all I could care about. Don't die. And we'll see you guys all later. I'll play my outro and get out of here. Have a safe week. What am I doing here? Let's do this one right here. Take care, guys.